accepted. So I got a lot of questions. This is not an interview, but I got a lot of questions.
No, shoot, great. I like answering questions.
So first off,
I'm ready.
I've been told we are both Canadian. Mm-hmm. I scouted out your Wikipedia article before this because I was like, I wonder where he's from in Canada. Okay. You were from. So I'm originally from Kingston, Ontario. So I'm familiar with the Ontario-ness. You're from
I've been to Kingston a couple of times.
Is it Orleans or Orlen?
Well, we say like Orleans, like because I'm not French Canadian, so Orleans. But I had a lot of French Canadian friends, so it's Orléans.
Orléans.
They get mad, right? But we just said Orleans. But yeah, it's just a suburb of Ottawa.
Okay.
Like a newer suburb too. It was like built in the 80s. Like I think I was born in 80, and we moved to Orleans in like 83, and then I lived there up until I was about 23, and then I moved to the UK. I live in Jersey now, which is like in the Channel Islands. It's like a small island.
So I also went on a little rabbit hole because Wikipedia said you live in Jersey, and then I was like, I don't even know what that is.
No, most people don't.
Which is probably, and I'm somewhat geographically well versed by North American standards, so I was a little surprised.
Yeah. Most people because I met my wife. She's from here. She was born here, but we met on the internet in like '97.
Oh my god!
Back when people didn't really meet on the internet, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of it was like we met on IRC in a chat room on IRC, which is kind of weird, right? But then we upgraded to like MSN Messenger. Actually, ICQ we used to use, then MSN Messenger after that. But it's kind of weird. But I'd never heard of Jersey before either. Like it was just. I remember the first time I was gonna come over here to visit. This is after we'd met. Like she'd come to Canada to visit, and we met there. And then a couple months later, I was due to come out to Jersey. And I remember like trying to like book flights and everything, and my mom was like, "Let's land in Heathrow and take a train." I was like, "I think it's an island." She's like, "You just take a train." Like, what? No, it's just like that lazy sort of like, I've never left Canada, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but you can figure it out, sort of thing. It was pretty funny.
So you have to. I assume you fly into England. Like, I don't know why I call it mainland England because it's not really what it is. But then you take like a tiny plane to Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's wild. There's usually like a stopover, like a couple hours. It's kind of like it'd be the equivalent of landing in like Vancouver and then waiting for a flight to Victoria or something. You know, like Vancouver Island.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah. Well, I've been out your way many times. Well, my grandparents used to live out in Victoria, and I used to visit them every summer.
It's nice.
It is really nice. It's a beautiful part of the world.
I found out that Jersey and Guernsey are two different places.
Yeah,
they're both
islands,
Channel Islands.
Yeah. So there's another really small Channel Island called Sark. That's like the third. Oh no, sorry. There's four. There's Alderney as well. Alderney's a little bit bigger. Sark's really small. There's not even cars on Sark. Like,
really?
Yeah, you can take a boat there, and when you arrive there, a tractor with a trailer picks you up to take you up a hill, and then it's just bikes or walking. That's it. There's no cars.
That's
crazy.
Wild.
Yeah. They have like one ATM, and it's like attached. It's like welded onto the side of a trailer, like just in the middle of the town. It's hilarious. It's really funny.
I apologize to your chat too, because I'm sure you probably get asked these questions all the time because it's a little unusual. There's only like a few 100,000 people in Jersey, right? Or
yeah, it's like 100,000.
Okay,
it's not that big.
But like Jersey has its own legal tender.
Yeah,
like you can use Jersey dollars.
It's pound for pound sterling, and it's accepted in some airports in the UK where there's direct flights, but they'll just change it to like actual sterling or whatever. But yeah, they issue their own money here. Like it's got its own local government. It's kind of the same as like. You know how like there's like a parliament in Scotland, there's one in Wales, there's one in Northern Ireland, and like the UK just got sick of managing all of these places and just said, you guys just fucking manage yourselves, basically. And Jersey very early on was one of those places. But it's like it's in a bit of a gray area too, where it's not technically part of the UK, even though it is, and it's not technically part of the EU either, even
Okay.
though the EU consider us part of the EU. And it's because it's a tax haven, so it's like
I read
it's like,
that
it's
as
an,
well. Yeah.
yeah, it's an offshore jurisdiction, so it's kind of like the same as like Cayman, BVI, like Luxembourg. So there's lots of banks have headquarters here so that they can um, basically hide people's millions away from like it's like mostly British expats that
And I did
owe
see
money back to the UK taxman but don't want to pay it, so they just store their money here instead, sort of thing.
like 27% of the economy is in financial services or something.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah,
Like
it's huge.
I have a friend who is from Bermuda, and it's like almost 1-to-1. Like it's the exact same sort of, like it's a very nice place. It's a nice island,
Yeah.
but then also on top of that is like you can also go there to pay no tax.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And there's lots of like buildings here that have like it's like say it's like a two-story building. You think well, there's maybe like a company in there or two. There's like thousands. Like, it's just mailboxes. It's just the way it is, yeah. But I mean it's a nice place. There's a lot of really wealthy people here. Like
Yeah,
there's
I
there's
believe
more
it.
sports cars over here than there are people. I not mine either, for the record. It's just
I'm not judging.
one of those places, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that. So the cost of living is really high. Like it all sort of evens out, I guess. But it's nice. It's good. It's safe. It's quiet. Good place to raise kids. Because it's a small place, there's like rules on who can like move here and live here and stuff. So
It makes
there's
sense,
like
yeah.
housing qualifications and stuff, which we're exempt from because my wife was born here, and I just inherit that through marriage, sort of thing. So
Do you ever feel like, and again, this is not me judging, but do you ever feel judged by people that are like from mainland UK when you say you live in Jersey? Like, do they assume instantly that you live there exclusively for
no,
tax purposes?
not really. You get like there's a mix. Like some people just assume that you're rich
Right.
because you live here, which is there's nowhere is like that, right? There's always got to be people who aren't rich, right, to help people who are rich.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be rich and then like clean some dude's toilet, right? Like, but that's what they expect.
Your own
over
toilet,
here.
maybe, but
Yeah, maybe my
in a
own.
pinch.
Yeah, in a pinch. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way. But and then you get a lot of people, like older people. This used to be like a summer destination, right? It's got really nice beaches and stuff. So, and it used to be cheap to come over here. Like it wasn't always the way it is now. So like the older generation of like people in England will remember it as like they used to call them the bucket and spade brigade, because like every summer like people would just come over here and spend their summer vacation over here, like
Okay, yeah.
just going to the beach and whatever. So you get people who don't see it as like some tax haven, just see it as like a really nice place to go on a vacation or whatever. So there's like a good mix. It's not all bad, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
It's nice.
I just
if you
worried that
ever,
like, when you had to tell people that you're from Jersey, you gotta like. I wondered if you had almost a routine where you had to be like, but I'm not like the CEOs that move here, have a PO box here just for tax purposes. Like I'm
no,
I'm
man,
a real
honestly,
Jersey.
like doing a bit about where you live, I had to do that way more, like saying that I was Canadian, right? 'Cause,
Really?
like, yeah, because it's always like, oh, you got a fucking pet polar bear and you live in an
Oh.
igloo and stuff. Yes, okay, thank you.
Vice
Like,
President Jean Putain and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, way more from being from Canada than from here for sure. So
I feel like so I live in like Vancouver proper, and I feel like the most shit I get is from other Canadians. Like whenever Americans find out I'm from Vancouver, they're like, "Oh, I went skiing there once. It was really nice. Like I'd love to go there more, but obviously it's pretty
Right.
expensive." And when I talk to other Canadians, they're always like, "Oh, well, you live in a house that's like $8 million. What does a cup of coffee cost? Like $1 billion?" And I'm like, "You pretty much got it." I get more hate from my countrymen than from
That's
any other
crazy.
demographic.
yeah, that's crazy. So when did you move out to BC then? You said you grew up in Kingston, right?
Yeah. So I lived in Kingston from my birth in 1988 until
Okay.
I went to Queen's University and got my
nice.
undergrad there, close to home.
Nice.
And then I taught English in South Korea for a year.
Holy crap.
Then I came back and I lived in Kingston for a year, and I met my wife online, not through ICQ because it was slightly later.
Probably defunct by then. Yeah.
And I moved out here because she was from here, and now.
Oh right, okay.
I mean, I got no problems with Kingston, but Vancouver is like almost objectively, it's just nicer. Like, depending on what you're looking for, you know, the weather's nice and the scenery is beautiful and.
Yeah, it's a lot milder out there, right? Kingston
yeah.
probably got fucking really cold in the winter.
Oh, it's
all
like
the same
minus
same
30.
stuff as Ottawa, right?
Yeah, it's like pretty much exactly the same.
Jesus.
Yeah, so
I don't miss that.
Oh, I hear that.
God, fuck it. It's impossible, right? Like I'm, and it's weird too because like my whole time in Canada, because I left when I was like 23, and like I've been back to visit, but I haven't lived back there since. So it's been like 17 years. Most of my adult life has been over here. So like while I had teenage jobs and stuff while I was in Canada, I didn't really have to battle with like the weather to that extent. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have like a 9 to 5 that I had to go to and put those fucking rubber things over my dress shoes and stuff like that.
Oh,
you know, like
it's horrible. And then people, I don't know, because I'm assuming from what I know about the climate over there, I'm assuming Jersey is like France but milder.
Yeah, it's really mild. Like we rarely get snow. Like I think it's actually a bit warmer than mainland. Particularly the north, but like it's a couple of degrees warmer than the average temperature in London, sort of thing. So it's like,
nice.
Yeah, it never really goes below zero. Like since I've lived here, like for like 17 years, it's snowed maybe like 3 times. Like,
wow.
In total, yeah, I know, it's great.
So I don't know if you get the same thing that we get in Vancouver, which is like people from inhospitable climates will visit, and then they'll say things like, "Oh, it rains a lot. Like I could never live here. It rains a lot." Or I don't know what I would do without the snow. And I'm like, I'll tell you what you do. If you got to be to work at like 9 a.m., you get up at like 8:30 instead of having to get up at 6:45 to use like a little Canadian Tire plastic scraper to scrape off your windshield, and then
holy shit, yeah. I remember doing all that. I remember one year for Christmas, and this was a big thing. For Christmas, my mom got a button press car starter.
Oh yeah.
Like in the 90s, and everybody knew right away. It was like, fuck, that's amazing.
Genius.
So she'd wake up at like 6 in the morning, start the car, and then like have a shower and have breakfast and everything. And then by the time she went out to go to work, the car would be completely defrosted because it'd been on for like an hour and it had heated up.
Back when gas was a little cheaper, but
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, man, it was so funny though. It was just like it's really weird the sort of like environmental things that happen in a place to make your life a certain way, right? And the dumb things you get excited about around that too. It's like really weird. I used to hate shoveling the driveway, and I used to always have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it would take forever, and I would hate doing it. And then my neighbor had a snowblower, so I'd be out there shoveling the driveway, and this guy'd just be like snow blowing next to me, and I'd just be like cursing him the whole time. But then he got a new one, and he sold my dad his old one, and it was just like a game changer. It was amazing. Fun. Yeah, there'd be no snow, and I'd be like, I'm going to snowblow the driveway. Like I'd just be just any excuse to use this fucking snowblower. It was awesome.
I had like the flip side where like we had a lawnmower downgrade. Like I used to live in a duplex with my parents and my grandparents, and my grandpa had an amazing lawnmower that like he had a riding one that I wasn't allowed to use because I was like 11. But he had like a nice, I don't know, like electric or propane powered one that was really nice. And then when my parents and I moved out on our own, we just had one of those weird like 1950s cartoon ones with 2 blades that you just push. And it actually turned it from like kind of a fun like shopping cart experience into one of the worst workouts you could ever imagine.
Jesus Christ.
Because it's also a chore.
Yeah, it's a chore. And I mean, like over here is different, right? Like even if you're lucky enough to have a backyard, like because the living conditions are a lot more cramped, right? Like especially in Ontario, like you could live in like a decent 3-bedroom house or whatever, but have a big yard, right? Like you'd have a big like a big front yard and backyard. It was like it was like an all day thing mowing the lawn. Fuck, it sucked so bad.
I did
And
want to
especially in the
ask. Oh,
summer.
go ahead, Ben.
Oh no, sorry. I was gonna say, in the summer when it's humid, the grass grows super fast too, right? I don't know if you ever noticed, but it's like have to mow the lawn every day.
Oh yeah, we're in a grassless existence here in the
Just
concrete
rocks.
jungle. Yeah, lots
Nice.
of concrete, lots of stone.
Good.
Uh,
Much easier to maintain, right?
I did want to ask because like I've been to island nations before.
Okay.
Iceland.
Nice.
and-
Wow. What did you do in Iceland? Just for fun?
One time I went, there was it was the first media event I ever got invited to, and I thought
Right.
it was a prank because it was like I got started on YouTube and then I got a little traction, and then you get an email that's like, hey, we want to send you to Iceland to like play these video games, and I'm like, I've never even heard of this company, Paradox Studios. So anyway. So yeah, that was the first Paradox thing that I went to. It was very nice.
nice.
And then like 7 years later, I went to my friend had a wedding on in Iceland, and
Right.
I accompanied them to be a guest.
I hear Iceland is really nice actually. Like kind of worth visiting.
It's
But I've never been.
It's beautiful. I would definitely recommend it, but it also made me wanna ask, like, is Jersey like Iceland? Like, if you went to like a Subway, for example, a Subway sandwich
Yeah.
restaurant, would
Sure.
a foot long sandwich be the equivalent of like 17 or 18 American dollars?
I don't know. Like I don't know what the exchange rate is now. It's not that bad. It's not like
Okay.
it's not super high. It's not $18 that I know of. I think that it's like what's the exchange rate right now? It's not so bad that it'd be that high, right? Like
Okay.
like say a foot long sub costs like 10 American dollars.
It's close, yeah. I think that's about right.
Is that about right?
It's maybe like 10 Canadian, so maybe like 8 or 9 American. But
Okay.
you're not off
if
by
it
much.
costs
I
like
think.
10 American dollars, then in Britain it probably costs like 100 pounds. Like it's really bad over here.
That
It's
is-
such a rip off. I'm just joking.
I was like, isn't that
I'd
like
say
$120?
if it's like $10, it would be like $6 or something.
Okay.
You know, there's like not that much of a difference. Like but everything over here is expensive. I don't know why. And it's not just Jersey and on we call it like the mainland, but in
Yeah.
England it's the same. It's just like everything is just really expensive. There's no like free Wi-Fi anywhere either, which is kind of annoying. Like, you go like to an airport. Like
Yeah.
we went to Sweden. I went to a Paradox thing in Sweden a couple of years ago. And man, everywhere you went, it was like free, really fast Wi-Fi, right? Like it didn't matter where you were. I was on a train from the airport to the city, just like free, blazing fast Wi-Fi. It was incredible. I loved it. And then you get back to England, and it's like you get 5 minutes of free Wi-Fi, and then you have to pay $5.99 for like 15 minutes of Wi-Fi, like after that, and it's just crazy. But there's so many things that are like that in England. I find. I don't know. Maybe it's changing, but
Yeah, I was
just
in
find it.
London once, and like my whole takeaway was like, well, there's a lot of history here. Don't get me wrong; it's a beautiful city,
Uh-huh.
but also like, why is it $100 for 2 people to eat in a restaurant, and the food's not even good?
No, yeah, and you don't get like you go to America, and if you got $100 worth of food in
You
America,
live like a king.
you'd eat for like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Like you could take a doggy bag home and everything. It's insane. But like no, over here, yeah, it's different for sure. There's a lot of things that just cost a lot for seemingly no reason, but I guess it's just the way that is. Like over here, they have a saying that like rip off Britain, and it's just kind of true. There's some things just are a rip off, for like no reason, but.
I'm gonna catch
But-
you on this fish weight, by the way. It's taking me a bit. You're still like 5 or 6 kilos ahead of me, but once I get a couple
know
of
what?
skills,
I'm sitting on a mountain of money as well. Like I'm just being lazy and not upgrading or whatever. I think like the current equipment I have, I think the biggest fish I caught was like 19 kilograms or something.
it's pretty good.
But that's not bad. It's not bad. It's not the honker that I'm hoping for though.
He knows the vernacular.
Yeah, no, I said chat were briefing me before we started. He said make sure you try to catch a couple of honkers before you start. But I didn't. Not the honkers I was hoping for. Hey, listen, in Kingston, did they
Yeah.
have Loeb? Like Loeb
The
IGA?
grocery store. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the chain, okay.
It
I
does
used to
not
work at
exist anymore, though. I
No,
think.
no, it's gone now. It's got bought out by Metro, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, I worked at a Loeb for like years. When I got a job there when I was like 15 and a half, which is
Okay.
like legal age to work in Ontario, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
I got a part-time job at Loeb, and I used to pack groceries, and I worked my way up to the dizzying heights of working in the back room,
Oh,
stocking shelves and stuff. It's pretty good.
wait, was Loeb was that the grocery store where like you checked out and they put your groceries in like a plastic tub and then they rolled it out of the store so you could like drive your car up and just pick up your plastic tub?
No,
That might be
but
AMP. I might be
it
like,
might have been. Loeb might have done it at some point though, because like there was a big period where I didn't work there, sort of thing. Maybe they did that. I remember that from Trailer Park Boys, right? Wasn't that on?
I've
Wasn't
only
that one
seen
of the
like a couple
scams?
seasons, but like
Oh, okay.
it doesn't exist anymore, but people are saying like, "What the heck are you talking about?" I swear, because there's one of the guys I went to school with is saying that's AMP. So yeah, like once you paid for your groceries, you wouldn't take them out to your car yourself. They would put them in a box on like these rollers, roll them into the back room, and then you drive your car up to the front, and somebody would come out of the back room with your box and put them in your trunk.
A bit like the beer store. The beer store had those rollers.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if they still do, but
Exactly.
they though that I never understood that though. Like because it was so seldomly used, right? Normally you just go out on the floor and pick the case of beer that you wanted and you'd be done, right? You wouldn't really need to use the rollers that much.
Yeah.
But I guess sometimes if you wanted like a big
You're having
like
a party.
24 pack of beer
Yeah.
or something, and they had to get it from the back room, they'd push it down the rollers, but like it just didn't seem to happen that much.
At
Ooh, 14 kilograms.
at my university beer store, they use the rollers every time. You would look at like
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's a very foreign experience for people that are not from Ontario, but you would like walk in and there would be like a wall of labels. And then you'd
Yeah.
be like, "Ooh, that one has like a deer on it. That looks good." And then you'd
Oh
go,
my
one
God,
one
yeah.
case of deer, please, and then it would just
I'll
come
take
out of the back.
On the rollers, yeah. I mean, rollers are fun. Don't get me wrong.
It's a good
just
time.
like, yeah. I always remember like being a kid and having like we'd have a barbecue or something like that, and then the day leading up to the night of the barbecue, you'd have to go with your parents, and they'd go to the beer store,
Oh, it
and then
smells.
sometimes they'd go to like the LCBO or whatever, and the smell, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the beer store smelled particularly weird, and then LCBO also smelled kind of perfumey and weird too, right? Like it was just. I can't explain it. It's just like it's just those weird things that you sort of remember from being a kid, but they don't matter at all, right? Like it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
I
as
don't
an
know.
adult, when I go to the beer store, I'm just like, "Oh, it smells like my dad."
Yeah.
That joke
Wait,
doesn't
do
even
they-
make sense because we don't even have the beer store in BC.
No, yeah, because it's only an Ontario thing, right? The beer
Yeah,
store?
yeah. And in BC, they have the very appropriately named BC liquor store,
Right.
which is where you buy beer and alcohol. But they also have private liquor stores in BC,
Oh, okay.
but they're not allowed to compete on pricing. So,
Right.
you know, it's. I'm not saying you can't get a competitive advantage, but you got to be creative.
Remember the meat store? I don't remember the meat store, but I remember M&M. You remember M&M?
I
It was
do,
like the
yeah.
frozen food store or whatever.
It was
I don't
all
know
the
if
rage.
there's. Yeah, I don't know if it still exists, but it was like you'd go there and they'd have like I don't know, like frozen lasagnas and stuff like that. And you'd just buy these massive lasagnas, like huge ones.
Yeah,
You'd
it was a
just buy them
grocery
and cook 'em
store
up.
that was just the frozen food section.
That's right. Yeah.
I
Man,
remember
my
I there's a video probably from like 8 years ago now because I'm sure you can relate. Like from age 10 to age 20, like every day had meaning. But then like from 20 to over 20, like decades go by, and I'm like, was that
Yeah.
yesterday? And they're like, no, it was 10 years ago.
Man,
But it was a
tell me,
video.
I thought today was Saturday. I took
Oh,
the day
really?
off today because I had to do like Christmas stuff. Like my kids are like get really excited for Christmas and everything.
Of course,
So
yeah.
I had to go do some last minute shopping and everything. We were like isolated for a while, and there's like a couple of days in between. It looks like we're going into like another lockdown,
Yeah.
but stores are open. So we're like, okay, today we'll go. I'll just take a day off. I won't stream or whatever. And I was convinced it was Saturday. Like, it's like somebody was saying something to me earlier, and they're like, I was like, what? Why are they doing that on a Saturday? They don't normally do that on Saturday. It's fucking Tuesday. Oh shit. Yeah, it's just like it's like a getting old thing, I think.
Oh, I've been there. I feel like I've been older than my actual age since I was like 12 years old. So I'm
Since 12.
at
Yeah.
32. I'm now like I feel like I have the demeanor of like the average 50-year-old.
Yeah, no, it's like that. Your 30s are like that. But honestly, like I was saying this the other day, I think for me, my 30s were like the most enjoyable decade of my life so far, and that's saying something. Like I had a pretty good childhood. I had good teen years, school. I didn't have like much trouble at school or anything. I had fun, like going to like further education and everything, and stuff was fine. But in your 30s, it's great because you've got more money and stuff, right? And you
Yeah.
have like a bit more life experience. You got more wisdom. You don't like spend all your time just doing like really dumb things, but or maybe you do, but it just seems like more natural or more fun somehow. I don't know. I like being in my 30s.
Yeah, no, I
Now,
feel like like in late 20s and 30s are kind of like mashed together, but my early 20s is like you're figuring out how to be an adult. So you try out all
Yeah.
these things that like you saw in movies and stuff like that, and then you go,
Yeah.
I don't really think that's for me. Like I remember in university, I went to nightclubs now and then with my friends,
Yeah.
and they were like all having
Yeah.
a good time, and I was pretending to have a good time, and I just
Yeah.
thought eventually like I'm gonna see the appeal here. Nah, just. And then when you're 30, if somebody wants to go to a club, you're like, first off, what? Like we're old now.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you're like, yeah, I'm all right. I'll just stay at home and like read a book or something.
exactly. And then when you have kids, you have all the excuses you ever need to never do anything again, right? Like they just
I'm
get you out of
learning.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you want to come to a wedding? I can't. I got two kids. Like, what am I gonna do? And then they're just like, whoa, okay, yeah, no problem.
Good
You don't
point,
have to.
yeah.
You don't have to come. Yeah, it gets you out of like a lot of. I'm not like maybe that's an exaggeration because the weddings are normally pretty fun or whatever, but there's lots of like mundane crap that you can get out of doing, right? Like the minute you have like even like you've got a small baby, right?
Yeah, she's 3 months old, so it's like really early. But
3 months.
It's
Yeah,
been a
that's
great
early.
year
Jeez.
for excuses because like
Yeah, for sure.
first like wait, because there's a period for anybody that's not familiar. You normally don't like announce a pregnancy until like maybe the end of the first trimester. So we were
That's
like,
right, yeah.
how are we gonna tell our friends that we don't want to hang out without offending them during these first couple of months, where you know the first trimester can be pretty rough on the mom.
Yeah, and you have to start taking like better care of yourself.
Oh yeah,
as
like you
well,
don't want to
right?
die
Like,
in advance of the.
you can't.
birth.
You
Yeah.
really don't want to be around like secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
You don't want to be drinking anymore and stuff like that. Like you have to be.
But then
Usually that's the giveaway, right? Like if you are that
Exactly.
way inclined, and then you start cutting out all that stuff, people are like, ah, okay, I know what's going on
But
here.
then we got super lucky and the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden we didn't even have to pretend. We were like, are you crazy? We can't hang out. There's
Yeah,
a
well, that's
global
it.
flu epidemic right now.
There you go. So were you guys like when all of this stuff was kicking off and you were about to have a baby? Were you guys like extra worried, or
Oh,
were you
yeah.
just like, I bet.
It kind of like there's I don't want to say positives and negatives because it takes I mean there's more negatives than positives for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But and I say that like I mean I shouldn't tell a joke about it because I know also like you had a scare, and actually like my grandma is isolating right now because of the fact that like the person that she rents a room to got a positive test, and now she's got some symptoms
Oh.
as well. So it's like
Yeah, geez, yeah.
I'm just saying that I also have the ability to tell the joke. Okay,
No,
I'm
no.
I'm
Yeah,
giving
that's
myself
fine.
the
I-
license.
I think that's fine. Like honestly, you go ahead with the joke.
Thank you for
License
the
granted.
permission. I appreciate
No,
it.
no problem. No problem.
And then, so wait, okay, no, I found it again. Another part of getting old. But like going to the doctor's appointment sucked really bad because they're like, you know, the mom can go in, but the dad has to like wait
Yeah,
outside
yeah,
in
yeah.
the car. That sucked pretty bad. And then, we also did a lot of appointments like over the phone that were, you realize like, it's good that we have that kind of medical attention where you check in all the time, but a lot of those appointments are pretty like unnecessary. The doctor's like, we got to see you like once every 4 weeks. Then the pandemic hits, they close their office. They're like, we'll see you in a couple months. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, wait a second, you said 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's just all of a sudden this number changes.
The whole time it was optional, apparently.
There's a lot to take in with your first baby too, right? And there's a lot of information that you have to sort of like sift through, right? Because not only are you getting a lot of information from doctors and midwives and all that kind of stuff, but you're also getting a lot of advice from like your parents and like your partner's parents and friends who have had babies and stuff too. So you almost reach this point where numbers matter somehow, because you're talking about like trimesters and you're talking about like when you can say that you've had a scan and when you can announce to the world that you're having a baby and all that kind of stuff, to then go from like, we need to see you every 4 weeks to, we'll just see you when we see you, is kind of like, no. I need real numbers here. Like I'm used to data and numbers already. That must be kind of weird. So your baby is born in like what, September then?
Yeah, end of September.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild.
That is like right in the middle of the pandemic too, right?
I think we got I wouldn't say lucky, obviously, but I think it could have been worse. Like, at least in BC, it was really bad. It was still better than most of Canada, but it was pretty bad from like March to May. And then in June, July, August, we had like days where there was 1 case, 2 cases, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then September, we got up to like 30, 40, and we were like, oh, this is as bad as it gets. And now we're at like 600.
Jeez.
So I think in some ways we kind of dodged the worst of it, but...
Yeah, it seems like the second, like the second wave is a lot worse, and they kind of predicted it too, right? They said that it was going to be worse, but like the UK now, like there's no flights even allowed to come here now, and they're not accepting flights from here either, which is pretty bad. But I think in terms of Europe, I think UK is like one of the worst now. And there's this new strain that they found, even though they've got vaccines rolling out, so I don't know. I think they should have just done like a hard lockdown sooner again, but I think they just didn't do it soon enough.
Yeah, that's what.
Same here in Jersey. It's the same.
It's been bothering me.
Bad.
Like, we have friends that like live in New Zealand, and I apologize to my chat because I told this story before, but I saw like this streamer post a video of them like getting drunk in public, and they were like partying, and I was so pissed. I was like, oh, this idiot, she's like spreading misinformation to her audience, and blah blah blah. And then I got even more mad when I found out she just lived in Australia, where they have actually successfully handled it for the most part, and everything's still kind of open, and the caseload is extremely low. And I was just even more pissed. Why didn't we do that?
Yeah, because New Zealand like locked down instantly, right? The minute like there was even like a whiff of a virus going around, they locked down, and they did really well like in the first wave, right? But I don't know how they're doing now. Like, I haven't really kept up with New Zealand news sort of thing, so I don't know
see
what
videos.
the
I think people are just like, it seems reckless, but only because I think in our new normal it looks weird, but like they're just walking around. It's like the summertime.
It's
so
great.
It's
people in chat are saying it's great. Like, they're like virus free.
Yeah, someone was like, I'm gonna go see a movie at the theater later, and I was like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah,
this time traveler.
Man, I was watching. My kids were watching the Christmas movie Elf. That one with Will Ferrell, and it was the first time I've had this like since all of this started. And it was 2 security guards were just like lounging in like the lobby of the building that the dad works at, the publishing company or whatever. And they're just lounging and waiting for like the elf guy to come down. And I just thought like, fuck, it's crazy that you wouldn't even see that now, right? Everybody'd be wearing a mask. Nobody would be even sitting next to each other and stuff. And like, I've now gotten used to all the distancing, the mask wearing, like the sort of like upheaval of normal life or whatever, and it made me feel not sad, but just like I think it finally registered that like things are just kind of different.
It's changed a lot. Yeah,
it's kind of depressing, really, isn't it?
But I will, and I try to look for the silver lining. I've said this before. I've never had nicer shopping experiences.
Yeah, I know. It's great, isn't it?
Being the only person inside the store at any given time.
Oh my God.
It's a dream come true.
It's like heaven, right? You don't have like, when you're looking at something, you're looking at like, say you're looking at like pasta sauce, okay? And you're trying to like be a bit fruity. Maybe you're gonna get like some new pasta sauce, and you're looking at all the different types of pasta sauce. And then some fucking woman, or well, I don't want to say woman because it could be a dude as well or whatever. But they just come in and they start doing the same thing you're doing at the same time you're doing it, and there's nobody else in the aisle, but they feel obliged to just come and stand right next to you and sort of occupy the space that you need to pick out this new pasta sauce.
I hear you.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But you can't do that anymore. Which
You're
is
like,
pretty
I
good.
claimed this spot earlier.
Exactly.
By being here first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like they didn't get the memo, and it's because it was more of a mental memo. Like that. Maybe
I thought we all got the
never
memo
get,
years ago.
But at the same time, I mean, geez, like just let a guy pick out his new pasta sauce. Like
I've only been here for 20 minutes. Like
just like really racking my brains. Like, what's this white sauce? What is it? Cheese or is it not? I don't know. Like it's crazy. Oh man, fuck's sake. Hey, I was watching you guys play Rocket League briefly yesterday, talking about comedy movies.
Oh, okay.
You were talking about Rotten Tomatoes top 25 comedy movies.
Well,
I think.
not
Or
Rotten
something?
Tomatoes, but like I have like a mental guess for what the top 25 most popular comedies in my generation are.
Right. Okay. So are you talking like? Because I was thinking about particularly 90s comedies.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's surprising how many what I would consider to be big comedies from the 90s, just like off the top of my head, remembering what I would have gone to see in theaters, like between the age of say like 13 and like 18. So like 5 years of the 90s for me.
Yeah.
A lot of it was dominated by either active Saturday Night Live sketches or offshoots of Saturday Night Live sketches, right? With like people that had been on Saturday Night Live or whatever. Like Adam Sandler had a few big movies in the 90s, comedy movies like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other ones after that were like not great.
David Spade.
I don't even know if Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore were actually great comedy movies. Like at the time they were pretty good.
We've had this discussion in my own circle a lot. I think we've come to the conclusion that Happy Gilmore is good, and then Billy Madison's probably good, and then the rest of them were kind of like we don't know. It's
Big
hard
Daddy
to tell.
was not good, right? Little Nicky was not really that good.
That kind of
I don't
marks
remember being
the
great.
decline for me for sure.
Yeah, and what was that one? Was Big Daddy? Oh no, there was that one. Was it Anger Management? But I don't think that was a '90s movie.
It's 2003, I think, but
it had like that ending where it was kind of like The Game, where it was like he wasn't even angry the whole time. It was another guy like doing a prank on him, like Jack.
Oh yeah, no,
bit,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And it was just like, what the fuck? Why did I watch this whole movie just for that? Just for it to end like that? Like it wasn't even clever or anything. It was just stupid. And the rest of the movie wasn't even that funny. And I just felt kind of like, oh no.
Any movie where he does a funny voice, I think is like, if you turn on an Adam Sandler movie and he's like, I talk like this, and you're like, I just save yourself 90 minutes and just back out immediately.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shout, I think, actually. What about Austin Powers movies, though? I remember at the time they were like kind of funny, but I feel if I watched one now, I would not find them funny.
I've spoken at length about the Austin Powers movies. I've seen all of them many times. My take on it is that there's a little nostalgia for sure, but Austin Powers 1 is an actually good to great comedy, maybe like at the 7 to 8 out of 10 level.
Right.
Austin Powers 2 is not horrible, but it starts to show, it gets a little too Mike Myers-ian. Like he didn't have somebody to say no to him during the production, so he goes off on these like weird little like diluted tangents. But it's probably like a 6 maybe. And then Goldmember is like is probably like a 2 to a 3. There's
Is Goldmember the one that has Beyonce in it?
yes,
And the Dutch guy was
yes.
it?
His name is
right.
Goldmember.
Oh, that's right. Goldmember himself.
Yes.
I barely remember that one. I barely.
It's for the
remember.
best. I actually that was maybe the first movie or the second movie I watched right after we had our daughter, and I was just awake at like 4 a.m. bleary eyed, looking for something to
as you do. Yeah.
just pass the time.
Man. Yeah. I've been there. Does your daughter sleep well now, or is still pretty rough?
She was doing really well for a while, like well enough that I don't want to say how well she was doing because people will get like jealous. But she was maybe
Yeah, sure.
sleeping like 10 at night until like 7 in the morning, which is
Jeez, that's
incredible.
really good. That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, but now she's like she doesn't like to go to bed,
Right.
which sucks. So we go to bed around like midnight lately, and then she usually wakes up at like 4 or 5, and then we kind of.
Yeah.
My wife usually very generously is like, I'm gonna do, like I'll handle this one. You can sleep for a couple extra hours. But
Right.
how
Yeah.
old are your kids? They must be school age. Right?
Yeah, I've got a 9-year-old now.
Okay, yeah.
And a 5-year-old. And waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning is still a thing for us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens. Sometimes they sleep in, but other times they just. I don't know. When you're a kid, you're just so excited by like every goddamn thing in the world that you just feel compelled to wake up at 5 in the morning and run around. And well, with Christmas now, they're insane.
Yeah.
Like because they know what's coming, and they've got like advent calendars and stuff that they open every morning and everything. And I don't think it helps that the advent calendars have chocolates in them and they're eating them at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah,
I
it should
don't
really
know.
have like
maybe
some
I'm
kind of
like old
sedative.
schoolers. Yeah, maybe I'm like old school, but like I don't know how that works.
Yeah, the morning candy definitely just. I think it kind of hits different.
Yeah. I think like I remember I don't want to say that we struggled with with my son, like our first, but we just weren't ready. Like and it wasn't from lack of like we read a lot of stuff, we bought a lot of stuff that we never used. Unfortunately, we were ready, technically ready, but we just weren't ready for like the massive change to lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Like we were like similar age to you guys. Like I was like 31 when my son was born.
Yeah, exactly the same.
So I'd had like, basically a decade of like working, free time, like disposable income. I played like a lot of WoW and you know what I mean? Like I'd stay up until like 4 in the morning playing like video games and stuff. And, I just had like a pretty average life sort of thing. And then when the multiplayer in this game is ridiculous. I just see like this massive like wall going in front of me. But yeah, and then when he was born, and we were like living in an apartment at the time and stuff, and it was just like we just weren't really ready for like the upheaval, I guess. And it was like kind of tough.
Yeah.
Like no sleep and everything. But we found sort of like after like 6 months is a big one, right? Because 6 months generally they sort of like are holding up their heads. They can kind of sit up on their own a little bit and stuff. And then from 6 months to a year, they start doing like they start trying to walk. So like they hold themselves on things and walk around and stuff like that. And they tire themselves out more, right? So
nice.
They just sleep a little bit better and stuff, which is pretty good. And then at 1, it's really nice because like my wife couldn't breastfeed. Like
okay.
she just never really was able to do it comfortably and stuff. So we sort of like switched to formula really early on. But then from 1, you can sort of wean them off formula and just start giving them cow's milk and stuff. So it was like
I didn't know that.
from 1 it just got really easy. There was just like a lot less hassle for stuff, You just like didn't have to prepare bottles anymore. You could just give them cold milk. Just shit like that, like.
But there's like a trade-off, right? Because right now there's a lot of like hands-on work. Like obviously you gotta watch the baby at all times because
Yes,
they're
yeah.
pretty helpless. But then
True, yeah.
I'm also like I kind of I was talking to another friend of mine who has kids, and he was like, "Yeah, with my second one, it was nice because I didn't think that the baby would just spontaneously explode, and I knew that like if I just left her like in the center of the bed, if I came back 2 minutes later, it's not like she's gonna get lost, right? Like she she can't do anything.
No.
But then like when they get older and they start like right now in my head, I'm already living like 3 years in the future where I'm like, what if she's 3 and she just like opens the door and then runs away?
Yeah, no, those are all real sort of things that you just sort of hang on to as well, right? Like, I don't know, you like, I'm assuming you guys have like done some child proofing of like where you live, because you sort of do, right?
Well, like we've child proofed like a little bit, like we bolted some furniture to the wall instead of just letting it hang loose.
Sure, yeah.
Because we
did you get like
notorious IKEA dresser that like
yeah
has
no, but another good one to get is like we normally keep all of our cleaning supplies like under our kitchen sink. There's just like one cupboard that has all of our cleaning stuff in it, right? And we got like these little plastic, they almost look like the handcuffs that like they like soldiers use like on the Taliban, you know, like they're like plastic handcuffs or whatever. Yeah, they're kind of like that, but they just keep your cupboards shut. Like we just got a whole bunch of those for like cupboards that have poison in them, basically.
Yeah.
Because you know, but otherwise, and we have these like stupid, they're like U-shaped foam things that you can put on the top of a door.
Okay.
Have you ever seen these things?
I don't think so.
And
no.
and they're really good, actually. They're like there's like they're foamy U shapes, and you put them like on top of a door, and it prevents the door from fully closing, so like they can't get their fingers trapped in there. Yeah, because when they become mobile, they fuck me, man. They just like close doors, and like you don't want them to like lose fingers and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think that's one of the things that like is struck me is like, you know, I have always thought of myself as not very intelligent. And then you have a baby and you're like, whoa, like I'm actually pretty smart because this baby doesn't know anything.
No,
like,
exactly.
It took a lot of work to be as stupid and ignorant of the world as I am. Like I've been learning 1,000 things a day for 32 years. This baby has no, like sometimes we have cats and the cats will walk over to the baby and the baby will look at him and I'm like, she has no idea what this is. She doesn't know, is this like another, is this just a weird looking version of mom and dad? Is this another baby? Is this like is this a bottle that has ears? Like she has no clue what's going on at all.
They're so accepting though, right? Like,
she's not judging at all.
Say you'd never seen a cat before, okay?
Yeah.
And nobody else on the planet had ever seen a cat before, and then you saw a cat at your age.
Oh.
You would freak out,
I would not sleep for weeks, for sure.
Man, and babies are just like, yeah, I guess that's normal. Like, they don't care. They just assume that everything's fine, right? Like, as long as you're around to take care of them or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. So, like, when we took her out in the stroller for the first time, and there were, like, birds flying overhead. I'm like, man, I wonder what it's like to have this little tiny world and then go outside, which you probably don't even conceive of to begin with, and then see things in the air just zipping around.
Well, I think what helps babies as well is that I think people assume that they can see like we see, you know, like like if you wear glasses or not. I mean, you can see kind of far, you can see kind of clearly or whatever, but I think babies don't see that well. So like some of this stuff is happening and you're like, look, they're looking at the birds. They're not. They can't even see the birds. They're just like, they just can't see that far yet because their eyes are developing or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the older they get and stuff, I don't know. You know what? Like what you were saying about, you know, you're much smarter than your baby or whatever. If you want to have that experience like times 1,000, wait till your baby is like 5 or 6 years old. And then play Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Oh, let's go!
You'll feel like a god. It's insane. It's like the best feeling. Just like kick their ass. You don't even need to try. And it's really good. No, just a suggestion.
We're thinking of that actually, because like, so I'm not like an amazing chess player, but I was really really good for my age when I was like 12 and 13. So my wife is like, you got to teach you know, our daughter how to play chess when she gets to be like maybe 3 or a little bit older than 3. And I'm like, all right, but she's gonna lose.
Yeah. When I play chess, I go hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, you want me to deliberately make bad moves? That's not going to prepare her to be a good player. I gotta, she's got to learn how to maintain control of the center and
teach them.
tempo and stuff like that.
Oh my God, yeah, you gotta. That's the thing. You can't learn by giving somebody like an easy pass.
Yeah.
You gotta. They gotta learn from their mistakes, right? And if they're playing against somebody who's experienced, they're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Let's face it.
I might even, throw some tricks in there as well. So
Wait, like tricks? You mean like those when people do those like checkmates in like 3 turns or whatever moves?
yeah, like, she's got to learn to defend against that because that's like very common at like a middle school age tournament. Almost everybody you play against is going to try that move on you. So she's got to have a defense for that. But even like some stuff where you get checkmate scenario set up on like the right side of the board, and then you just start throwing some bait out on the left side of the board. You just go, hey, like here's a free bishop or something. Then when she takes it, you're like, checkmate, sorry.
Checkmate. Sorry, that was the wrong move. Oh my God. Yeah, I never like I think I was saying this to you guys the other day when we were about to do Among Us with Gotham Chess. I never really got into chess. Like my grandfather taught me how to play like the first time I ever played, and I remembered the rules and stuff, but I just never got into it. It was never like I don't know. It's like it's a fun game, but I always felt it was like too infuriatingly competitive. Like I felt like if I played against somebody that was better than me, I felt really dumb for losing, and I hated the feeling, sort of thing. And I never really warmed to chess like after that kind of thing.
Well, I've been thinking about this more, especially because we have our own kid now. You kind of reflect on, like why you did the things you did in your own childhood. I think really what happened is, like, for whatever reason, when we learned the rules of chess at school, I was the best of like my 10 friends. And then like that becomes an easy way to get like praise and self-esteem. So then you're just like, well, if I can beat these guys, then like maybe if I get a little bit better, I can beat like some other people. And like I really feel like as a kid, like what kids are into and what they're not into is determined by like, are they good at it immediately? Like I think it has a big impact.
Yeah, that like the sort of early years, like 6, 7 years old, it seems like a really important age, right? To start getting into something, because like you look at pro athletes and stuff, a lot of them start around that age, right?
Yeah.
Like I think like Tiger Woods started playing golf when he was like 7 or something, right? And like just like as an example, but I don't know. It's like the younger you start, like I guess you just have a better chance, but you can't start too young because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
But I guess 7 is just a good age to start stuff, which is a shame because my son is 9 now and we never really got him into anything. So,
oh, no.
He's not going to be like, he'll probably just be pretty average at a lot of stuff, which is okay too. But
it's an okay existence, yeah.
We could have made like a golden goose there, Like, get him into something at 7 and just like retire.
That's like we're in that mode right now. We're like, how do we? Because she's still a blank slate. Is like, how do we make this about us?
Max our baby, yeah. God damn, yeah.
You got to start giving her like the high contrast books early on, so her eyes learn how to focus and.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit you can do for sure. Man, oh man.
Yeah, how do we monetize this baby?
Some people think like that though.
The Ryan's toy review. Like I'll admit I don't know anything about the parents of the Ryan's toy review.
I met. I don't want to like. I went to an event in LA like to do with YouTube. This is years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was like for. Have you ever heard of that Anki Drive? It was like like
smartphone
controlled.
cars.
Yeah. And it was like a deal through Maker. Like we were with Maker at the time. And me and a guy that I work with went out there and did the deal or whatever, and it was a really weird spread of people, but it was all Maker people. So like PewDiePie was there, and like we met like the guys from Game Grumps, and but there was a whole bunch of other people there, like kind of like Ryan's toy review. I can't remember the name of the guy, but it was a young kid who did like Lego box like unboxing and stuff like that. But he was small, right? He was like 8 years old or whatever. So his dad was with him all the time. But it was just like, it felt kind of like it was his dad, right? But
yeah.
he's just using his son as like content sort of thing. And it was
Did
like,
you have like an existential crisis at some point when you got invited to the same media event as an 8-year-old?
kind of, yeah. Because
I think I would be like, what?
It was
Like,
weird. It was around the time when Disney took over Maker as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So I think they were trying to like push, like the sort of all this kind of stuff. And it was really odd. It was really weird. I mean, it was a fun event and stuff, but it was just weird to see that firsthand, like, I mean, you could watch these YouTube videos and just make your assumptions or whatever, but actually seeing like the kid there with his like parents and stuff, and like I don't know. I could never do that. I would never like enjoy doing that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just putting my kid in front of a camera and then
But on the other
escorting him to
hand,
events and
yeah.
stuff. It'd be really weird.
Also like you're making me think of this. I forgot that golden era of YouTube. Not that YouTube's necessarily like, screwed or anything. I remember like when all the big companies got involved with the MCNs and had way more money than they knew what to do with because they were
That's right, yeah.
grossly underpaying all of their
Yeah,
creators.
yeah.
And I
What's,
just remember like I was with Machinima, which is a whole
Oh,
other
right,
ball
okay,
of
I was
wax. But I
They
remember,
were big too. They were big time, right?
they
Like,
were
that was, like,
at the time when I got signed by Machinima, they were the second biggest channel on YouTube,
wow.
which is just crazy to think about. And
They-
what's funny is that like they had a lot of controversies over the years. I had actually just like a completely copacetic experience with Machinima. I think it's one of those things where like if you were kind of big under Machinima early, you got maybe exploited a little bit. And if you
Right.
were just kind of like a semi nobody, then you were just like as long as
They
the,
just left you alone.
as
to
long
do
as
your
the
own
checks
thing
keep
and-
coming in, I got no complaints. But
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that for years. Like I'm just like I've been the same sort of thing. Like I've never really felt like overly like not exploited. Like
Yeah.
I've just felt like, yeah, just do whatever you're doing, sort of thing. And I've just sort of done that, and it's been pretty nice. But yeah, the MCN stuff, because I guess Machinima doesn't exist anymore, right? Are they just gone?
Yeah, no, it was a whole. It was very stressful because you're like with them, and then they get bought by Warner Brothers, and for I don't know how it works on the Maker side, but as I understand it, Maker also kind of just dissolved without
It's gone.
really
Yeah,
telling
it doesn't
anybody.
exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the way that it worked is like it got bought by WB at a point, and then you see the news, and you're like, that's funny because I haven't gotten an email about that like at all. And this is like my job. And then like 6 weeks later, they're like, we got bought by WB. And you're like, what does this mean? Well, you're invited to like the Aquaman premiere if you could fly yourself to LA. But
Yeah.
And then like WB sold that. They restructured and sold that to Full Screen.
Right.
Which is, it's been fine working with Full Screen. Like I'm still with Full Screen, but
Oh, right. Okay.
I just wish like that some executive, like when they signed these deals, like before they went out for their celebratory dinner, they like sent out a notice to the 15,000 people that rely on the organization for their livelihood, and we're like, just so you
Yeah.
know, here's a heads up.
Yeah. No, it's too much to ask. There's like, most MCNs are just like, they only care about like 5 people in the network,
Yeah.
actually, and then everybody else just like, oh, whatever. Like you exist, I guess. Like just barely. But these big boys are like the ones that we're worried about. Yeah, well, it was like that with Maker. Like, but Maker got bought by Disney, and then we were still with Maker for a while when they were bought by Disney, and we had a couple of years where we had like just some really, like you said, like you could go to the premiere of Ant-Man and stuff like that. And one time we were out in LA doing something totally different. I think we went to like BlizzCon or something. And Maker were like, hey, can we take you to Disneyland one day? And we're like, okay, sure. And because it was all Disney anyway, like we got like the VIP tour and
That's
stuff,
really
which was
cool,
kind of
though.
cool.
Yeah.
But like that's about it. And then a couple years later, we left and just made our own MCN. So which is not totally different to Maker. Well, I guess it's not so much like.
Yeah, but now you're one of the channels that gets
people,
cared about.
It's only people that we know in the network, so it's different in that sense. But I mean, it's just an MCN, right? There's just it's not terribly interesting. Like I wouldn't want to run one personally. Like I think it would be really boring.
Yeah.
And I just don't even really know what benefit there is to.
I don't get it either.
Owning one. Yeah, I don't
But
even really understand how they make money, but they seem to somehow. So
way back in the day, and I'm sure you know this, but way back in the day, they used to make a ton of money because whatever you would get paid on YouTube, they would just give you like 50% or less. And then like it at the time, you know, I was like, I don't know, maybe like 23, and I was just like, what? You can make money on YouTube. This is amazing. So I don't care, whatever. Give me 10%. I'll just work 10 times harder. And then eventually there was like a lot of controversy. So they went to like 60-40. And then like now the deals are literally like some of them are like 100-0. And I'm like, how do you even exist? Like
why? Why? There's no point in even doing that, right? Like it doesn't even make sense.
Like I'm not against it. Like there was one time, so and again, this is like emblematic of the weird things about YouTube. But I titled an Escape from Tarkov video "Blinded by the Light," and I got a DMCA takedown from the Entertainment One film distribution company because they had a movie coming out called "Blinded by the Light" and did no due diligence, I guess. And having a network was really helpful there because the network was like, "Yeah, we'll talk to YouTube and we'll like get it sorted out," and it got it sorted out in like 12 hours or something, which is pretty good, but.
Man, I got sued by Germans one time.
Really?
Yeah, and actually being in a network, a similar story helped. I got sued by a company in Germany for using, that bit of music. I can't remember the name of it, but they use it in 2001: Space Odyssey. You know, like the
also Sprach Zarathustra.
Yeah. So I used to use that because. I used to use this royalty-free site for music, like when I did edited YouTube content, like Kevin MacLeod stuff. You probably came across Kevin MacLeod, and it was good because he had all this music, and all you had to do was sort of say, thanks Kevin MacLeod for letting me use this music in the description or whatever, and it was fine. You could just use it. And one of the songs was that, which was considered kind of like a public domain song, right? It was like an old orchestral song that he just did like a cover of or an arrangement for, but it was perfect. It worked for lots of like moments in videos or whatever pretty nicely. And I used it a couple of times, and then like the network I was with got contacted by this German company and like, we want to sue this guy for using.
Oh no.
And I actually had to pay. It was like initially I think they wanted like 50 grand or something. And in the end, I had to pay them. I still had to pay them like $7,000.
Oh my god!
That was the settlement in the end. And I think it was because the network sort of said, you can't take 50 grand from this guy. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
He's not even worth $5,000. Like you'll completely destroy this man, sort of thing. So I was thankful for that. I still had to pay a little bit, but it was pretty weird. This is years ago.
It's a weird era of
it's
YouTube.
It's such a weird thing, isn't it? But it's scary now, right? On Twitch with all the DMCA stuff and everything. You got to be really careful. Like
there has been
you may not get fined, but it looks like there's some stuff going on in the US where you could potentially go to jail. Like,
I hope that doesn't happen. But it is, I mean, it's scary, and also like I don't know. I guess like sometimes I'm too much of like a contrarian, I guess. I don't think the DMCA stuff is good at all. But for years, because I had this experience on YouTube, I've been telling people like, hey, you shouldn't like use other people's faces and stuff in your emotes and then sell them, because I think like one day the reckoning might come. You probably shouldn't play like Spotify's most popular 200 songs forever. And and then the day kind of came, and people were like, how am I supposed to know what's okay and what's not? Then I'm like, well,
Yeah, and like for the Twitch stuff, there was no way of doing it. Like when I was going through clips, like you probably had to do the same, right? I had to delete all your clips and VODs and stuff.
Yeah.
When I was going through clips, I knew like probably like my top 15 clips didn't have any music in them. And they were there and they were fine, and I wanted to keep them or whatever. But it was just impossible to go through all the clips. Like I had thousands and thousands of clips that had like one view that there's no possible way I could go through.
It'd take you forever.
Yeah, so in the end I just like there was no way to just sort of say like keep 15 and then delete everything else. So in the end I just had to go for like the big magical button that just deleted everything, and it took like 3 days for it to delete everything.
Yeah,
So
I
dumb.
did the same. I regretted doing it. Well, not regret it, but I hesitated to do it. But then once I did it, I was like, now we can start
Yeah.
from we can
I
start from
think a lot
zero now.
of I think a lot of the stuff you'll like clips, your clips and stuff are probably just floating around on YouTube, right? Like,
Yeah, I made a habit of like exporting most of the streams. Like there's streams that I don't export. Like if we get in like a huge argument or something like that, I'm like I'll just I'll keep that one to the 60-day window on Twitch, and then it can be lost
yeah.
forever. But yeah, there's
God.
also like, and I thank you for reminding me, by the way, chat. But there's like several editors in the community that will take the raw Twitch VODs and slice them into compilations and stuff like that. So I made sure that like I resisted for so long because I was really paranoid about the MCA forever. So I was like, we're pretty safe, but there's always a chance. So I got eventually the paranoia got the better of me, and I like gave them the heads up for like 48 hours, like download whatever you want to download, and then it's all gone.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people did. I did sort of similar. I like leading up to deleting everything. A bunch of people just sort of made like, "Hey, I did the top 50 clips." Like they just kept a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all on YouTube, so it's pretty good. Whew. God, that took a long time to reel in.
22 kilos.
21.79 kilograms. That's a honker.
I'll give that the honker seal of approval.
$316 I just sold it for too.
Dude, you
Should
got me
probably
thinking.
buy some new stuff.
You got me thinking
Like-
about like 2013 era YouTube again. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember
It
like
was such a weird time, right? Like, how did you get your start on YouTube? Like, what made you decide I'm just gonna make YouTube content, or like, was it a
Yeah.
more organic thing?
Yeah, it was like so. Basically, like I had in 2010, I was gonna go teach English in South Korea, and then I had a job lined up in like July. This was the summer after I graduated from university. And
Yeah.
I had a job lined up in Korea in July, and then my boss that was going to give me the job was like, oops, we hired somebody else even though we told you had the job. And I was like, okay, that sucks. So I got another contract in Korea, but it didn't start for like 3 months. And I was like, I got to do something. So I started just making YouTube videos, and then kind of like Super Meat Boy came out around like that October maybe, and it got
Right.
like because nobody else was making videos on YouTube, there were like 8 gaming channels. Nobody else was playing Super Meat Boy, so when Super Meat Boy got popular, then like I kind of grew along with it, and then like that happened for multiple games throughout my early years on YouTube.
Yeah, because you did lots of Binding of Isaac,
I
right?
still do, believe
you
it or
still
not,
do.
which is crazy. And
And is it the same devs that did Meat Boy? Oh, it's because they're very similar looking, kind of, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like the art style and stuff.
So
But I never knew.
Super Meat Boy was made by a team of 2 people. The designer went on to design the Binding of Isaac.
Oh, right. Okay.
So there is a connection, for sure.
Right. Okay.
And then, like I got signed with Machinima while I was still teaching, and then I was like, I'll give this a try for like a couple I remember thinking to myself like, oh, if I could do this full time for like a year, that would be an incredible experience. And now that was like 10 years ago or 8 years ago or something.
Yeah. Man.
But what about
Yeah,
you?
time flies, eh? Similar sort of timing, 2011.
Yeah.
Actually, so I used to play lots of World of Warcraft. I started playing when it came out in 2004, and I was part of an online community called somethingawful.com.
Yeah, okay.
Like the forums. So you're known as a goon if you're like
Correct,
a forum
yeah.
goon for Something Awful. And when World of Warcraft came out, I played with goons because there was just through that forum was just super easy to organize like guilds and stuff like that. They had a big EVE Online guild, and they still do. Which is like this big griefing, like
Yeah.
well organized griefing machine in EVE. We used to play PlanetSide, and then we used to play Star Wars Galaxies, and then World of Warcraft came out, and it was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna join like the European. I was living in Europe at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna join the European Goon Guild, which at the time was called. It was always Goon Squad, but this one was a European Goon Squad. So it was, and it was on an RP server, so it was called Ye Olde Goon Squad.
Of course,
like
all right.
old English, right?
Yeah.
which for short was Yogs. And
Okay.
yeah, and I used to play with Lewis and Simon, who were goons as well. In this guild, we did all like the raids of the day or whatever together. We used to hang out on back then Ventrilo a lot. And then in like 2009 or 2010, I think, I was working as like a web designer for like a tech company over here.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis and Simon had started podcasting because that was all the rage back then. And it was not like it wasn't like a massively successful podcast. I think like mostly just like friends and stuff listened to it, but then it started sort of getting some reach outside of just like goons and like the friend circle. People were listening to it, so then they started just dabbling with like YouTube stuff, and they were just doing mostly like WoW content, and they did okay off WoW content, but then Minecraft was released, like, and it wasn't just like the
Yeah.
browser edition or whatever, and they did a couple of videos on that and started getting really big, and then they made like this big sort of like role play series of it, and then they got really really big, and they used to use like as sort of like like kind of like sidemen or whatever, like we all had Minecraft accounts, so like people would like jump in and play as like NPCs in some of the videos and stuff like that. And these were all people that we still played WoW with, or we were playing like a lot of Heroes of New Earth with at the time or whatever. And that just went on and on for like a couple of years. And then 2000, sorry, this is the longest
No,
story
no,
ever.
it's
Probably
cool
really
because I
boring.
remember also like the series you're talking
then
about.
in-
I remember like my Facebook feed
I
blowing
know,
up.
it's crazy,
like
right?
people were
And then,
like,
so
"You
in
gotta watch this."
2011, my wife was heavily pregnant and about to go into labor, and I went to the hospital with her, and she gave birth and everything. My son was born, and he was born like super early in the morning. It was like 6 in the morning or whatever. And we'd been up all night, so my wife was like, okay, like, just go home and get some rest or whatever, and then just come back like whenever you're ready, or like later in the evening or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went home, I got some rest, and I woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna play like some open TTD for a bit, like before I go back to the hospital, like I'm just like get a cheeky like hour in or whatever. But then Lewis was live streaming. He'd start like, because at this point, like even on Twitch, this is like 2011, right?
Yeah, it's
He
way
was
early.
doing like a charity stream, for just like a Christmas charity thing. But Simon wasn't feeling well or something. He wasn't there, and like they were like kind of like a duo at the time. And he was like, "Oh, do you want to like just hop on and play some game with me?" And I was just like, "Whatever." Like I wasn't really like into any, like I didn't really understand. I didn't watch a lot of YouTube or anything back then. I didn't really get the culture, but I played a lot of games. I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine. I'll jump in and play some game or whatever." And so we played this game on a live stream, and everybody seemed to enjoy it and stuff. And then that night he was like, "Hey, make a YouTube channel and we'll get you like into our network or whatever, and just start making videos, and you could just play games for a living all day every day if you want." I was like, "Okay."
So you had like
So-
a huge week that week.
yeah,
that was
yeah.
like...
It was a tremendous week. Yeah. So that's what I did. I just started playing games and recording them, and I felt really dumb doing it at first. And it was like kind of awkward to explain to my wife what I was doing and stuff as well. She thought I was like wasting my time and everything.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. That's it. Like just from there, like they were already really big, really established. I remember I created a channel, and the first time I posted a video, I couldn't believe it. Like overnight, I got like 60,000 subscribers.
Yeah, that's pretty
Like,
good.
yeah, it was insane, right? It was just like completely like there, ready to just be inherited, sort of thing. So it was like in that sense, it was easy, but we got into Minecraft and we started playing a lot of Minecraft because it was really popular back then, and we did well off of it. But then we sort of went through this period where, because we weren't really like born bred content creators, and we sort of
Yeah.
like inherited some of this, we just went through this phase where we were like, oh, I'm sick of playing Minecraft. I don't want to play it. I want to play stuff I want to play. And then kind of discovered over time that it just didn't make for good content. And so like it was just like this huge period of like being kind of angry and not understanding the algorithms or how anything worked, sort of thing. It was just really weird. And then we just sort of like came back around and started finding like other stuff to do that was then popular again. And like I don't know. Early on, it was like a bit of a roller coaster, but
Yeah, it's crazy to think of for sure.
it leveled out and it's like much better now. Like I have a better idea of like what I like to do, but I also have a better idea of what works as well, which I never had back then. So like on in that sense it's more enjoyable, but I don't know. It's still a lot of it still feels like the Wild West, right? Like it's just like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Like the fact that, I mean, so you and I have both been doing it for like the same amount of time, basically like a
Pretty
decade.
much, yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
It's so weird to me. Like, I mean, obviously we've seen channels like come and go, and some of the channels that were enormous on YouTube just never,
Yeah.
they never adapted, or they decided like, actually I hate this and I'm gonna retire like immediately. And then you know, channels pop up and you're like, oh, this guy's growing pretty fast, and then the next year he's on like Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. It's just it's insane to me that there are now like kids who grew up knowing that you could just like do this as a job instead of accidentally like getting it as a job by posting a video that did really well. Like there's so many YouTube channels where I try to like remind people, like some of the people that are really famous on YouTube that have been around forever, basically they had like one video where they like ate something and it was really messy, and then they got 1 million subscribers, and now they're like they have like an 8-figure net worth.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? I remember back then the big channels were like playing Happy Wheels. Remember the Happy Wheels?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it was like the Toby, was it
Tobuscus and yeah.
Tobuscus, yeah, he used to play Happy Wheels. I remember like sometimes I'd look at those videos and they just have like millions of views. PewDiePie played a lot of Happy Wheels. Uber Haxer Nova, remember? He still streams and stuff.
He's a big
around.
streamer, yeah.
Yeah, but like and Smosh, they were really big back then too. Remember Smosh?
Oh yeah.
know.
They also
I think
they
they're
spun
still
out
going, but-
they spun out like the brand into like a Smosh Games brand that's still super popular as well.
Jeez.
Which is I remember like so like the first few media events I went to, it was all the same people because there were only, I don't know, probably like less than 200 English speaking YouTube channels that were doing this full time. And you know, it would always be like me and I you know, I don't know if you know them, but you've probably heard of them before. But it would be like me and like Angry Joe and Gassy Mexican and like other like people who have been doing YouTube forever. And then I remember like I went to like media events again in like 2017 and 2018. And people started introducing themselves, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are at all. And then I looked them up, and I'm like, you have like 8 million subscribers. This is crazy.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of them seem like to be like Minecraft YouTubers, right?
Yeah,
Who are still really big. Like there's some really big Minecraft YouTubers, but when I started doing YouTube, they would have been 12 years old.
Yeah,
and,
it's weird.
And only now they're like pushing 19 or whatever. But they have, like you said, 30 million subscribers. Like, I've just like, I stopped like really like looking at YouTube stats and who was doing well on YouTube so long ago. And like, I've never really looked back either. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you, like, have you ever been like into stats like and algorithms and all that kind of stuff on YouTube, or do you just sort of think like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do whatever I'm gonna do and hope for the best?
I think I was at the start for sure. Like in the first couple of years, I was like, I want to be like first on the, like I want to be ranked first for the search rankings for this game that like I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for, but I think it's going to be like really popular. And then like I think I just got to a point, it's been like a gradual philosophical change over the years where I realized like I'm probably not one of those channels that is has like a mass appeal, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of people like what we're doing right now. It's not like if I put this up on YouTube with like a super cool like rainbow thumbnail, like not a lot of like 15-year-olds are gonna be like, oh, this is, I gotta tell my friends they gotta watch 2 hours of fishing with
these guys are talking about their kids and stuff. That's fucking awesome.
So like I think I just eventually I was like, you know what? Like I've never have had a truly enormous community, but I really do think, and from what I've heard, because like you, I actually do not watch that much YouTube or that much Twitch. From what I've heard, you kind of got the same thing where we've both been sort of blessed to make more or less the kind of content that we want to make, and people like they stick around. They've stuck around for like a long time, and the community is very vocal about like, hey, we want more fishing and like random conversations. We don't really want like you to pivot to being like Among Us kill compilation, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know, like you are naturally very good like at talking, like conversationalist, like being
you.
funny and stuff like that. And I think if you have those things, you're crazy not to do content like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like I'd never watch somebody be really good at a game, but then have a good personality at the same time. You know what I mean?
It's
and
rare.
Like, maybe that exists, but I don't know if I think it's very rare. You know what I mean? So like it feels like sometimes, maybe not all the time, but it feels like it's kind of like one or the other, right? Like you can either be super good at games and people watch you just for that, or you can be like on the other side, maybe not amazing at games, but probably still pretty good at games, like me.
Hey, you're better than the average person born in 1980 for sure.
To just like talk about whatever, or give off that vibe that the people are just sitting on a couch next to you and hanging out or whatever, did you ever have that person in your childhood where you'd go to their house and it was like that? They were like just playing Metroid or something like that, and you would just make jokes and stuff, and it was just you just hung out sort of thing, and it was you just like would spend a summer doing that or whatever. I feel kind of like that's how people consume YouTube and Twitch, right? It's like that but like all the time sort of thing. Or maybe not as fun.
I think like that pretty much hits the nail on the head for me. Like I didn't originally get into like, I mean I like video games, and for a while I thought I was like I wanted to be like a video game journalist, like I wanted to I wanted to go to like conventions and interview developers and be like, is this coming out on PC or whatever. And there's been a lot of pride lost for me as well, because I was definitely as a teenager like one of the best gamers in our group. Like I usually was like top fragger in the lobby and stuff like that, and now I'm just, every time I go live I'm just like, oh man, this is like, I'm just getting crapped on by like 12-year-olds over and over for making like small mistakes.
I know. Well, see, I was playing Apex Legends not too long ago, and I was particularly disappointed recently with the whole TOS thing. Not that I use the term simp much, or
right.
or incel. I don't really, but man, if somebody frags me hard in Apex Legends, you bet I'm questioning their virginity. Immediately, like that's a go-to for me. Yeah,
no
like
longer.
I'm like, okay, this person clearly has not felt the touch of a woman like in his life to be this good at Apex Legends. Like I think that's like a natural reaction,
right, when you're angry
to getting your ass handed to you by, like you said, probably a 12-year-old.
And that was true for me when I was good at games as well. Like if somebody had thrown that insult to me, I would have to be like, you know what, fair play.
Yeah,
you got me.
So, I mean, it's. Yeah, so like I don't know what I'm gonna do now that I can't throw that one out. I guess I'll just have to think up some new insights. It's childish, but
doesn't it piss you off? Like sometimes I follow these. I think I'm just like a little bit of a sore loser. So there's streamers that I watch that when they get beaten in a game, they'll just say like sincerely good game and then move on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how do you do that?
No,
I can't do it.
I can't.
I'm pissed for like at least 20 minutes.
There's definitely degrees though, right? Like at the same time as I wouldn't maybe say GG because I felt like it wasn't a GG for me, I still wouldn't wish like some form of death on my opponent either.
No.
Like you ever see those screenshots where they're like, just met a really interesting fellow in a game of Hearthstone. Like he just did like Dr. Boom on 7 and the guy's like, I hope you fucking die in a fire, and I fucking hope that a plague of toads ravages your village and stuff. And it's like, whoa, like it's just Hearthstone. Like I'm in the middle there somewhere of being a sore loser.
I think I would say that I am also in the middle.
Yeah.
But I have to hide it for sure. Like I get mad sometimes, and I'm like, what would I want to see if I were on the viewer end? And I just go like, good game, and then I'm like, especially like in chess, because it's like you're actually being beaten by somebody's like just their pure brain, and you like
Yeah.
didn't see something obvious, and then they do it to you, and you're like, okay, well played, that was good, that was good. In my head, I'm like, you fucking trying this cheap trick that 99 times out of 100 that wouldn't work, but just because I'm streaming it worked, and now you think you're smarter than me. Like,
Oh, you have more restraint than me. Like sometimes I can't help myself. Like I will just sit there and complain for like an hour about how bullshit that was. Like sometimes it just gets the best of me, you know, being a sore loser. I don't know if it's like, maybe it's like an Ontario thing. I don't know. It's
were
just
you?
like,
Can I? Because I have a theory about this. Were you an only child?
no, I have a
Okay.
younger brother. He's like a younger brother. He's like 2 years older than you. He was
Okay.
born in '86.
Because as an only child, like I think my parents let me win a lot.
Right.
And then also, whenever I played video games, I played against like the computer, and I would just set the difficulty at like the hardest level I could beat 100% of the time. So I just never built up like a resistance to losing that
No.
didn't like impact my self esteem.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, if you're conditioned to like to win most of the time, right? Like you are gonna find it hard to lose, like when you leave that bubble.
Yeah.
Eventually, because you have to at some point.
And I will say I did play a lot of team sports as a kid, but
Okay.
like I
Well,
was,
like in terms of like the non-organized team sports that you'd play like at recess or whatever.
Yeah.
Were you the first draft pick for like whoever got to pick the teams? Or?
I would probably be. I was usually like a middle draft pick. I think if we were
Yeah, I
if
was
we were
the
doing like
same.
a trivia competition, they'd probably be like maybe first or second. But
Right.
they don't do too
Yeah.
much trivia at middle school recess, unfortunately.
No, I wasn't like last. I wasn't last pick, but honestly, the people who were last pick were just like, oh my god, like they were like hopeless. Like, not
I
like
know.
I don't want to be mean, but like fuck me, man. Like some of them were just like,
I know
I
what
don't
you're
know,
saying.
like-
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like I remember this. I remember a guy that used to get picked last a lot, and he was actually kind of a nice guy. Like we hung out with him a bit, but there was just something like I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's just like something slightly off about him.
Okay,
I
yeah.
I feel like kids have some sort of radar for this stuff that you can't explain, but like you just know that he's not like he's not
Something at
just, like-
home is a little weird, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but so this poor guy got wedgied a lot. Like it's just the way that it is at school,
Way
right?
of the
There's
world,
always
yeah.
some guy will just get a wedgie from time to time or whatever, and this guy got wedgied a lot. But his attitude towards it wasn't so bad, you know? Like he would kind of like laugh along with it, almost like
Oh,
he was
no.
like, "Hey, yeah, you know, I'm the guy who gets the wedgies all the time, guys, you know, whatever."
It's like even worse. Like,
Yeah, it was though. It was even worse because the thing is,
Oh,
it
no.
worked okay in our age group, like in our year, because he sort of like almost had like a bit of control over it because like he knew the guys that were doing it, but he was like that to some of the older kids at one point, and they just went nuts. Like
no.
they really took advantage of it, and they gave him like the biggest wedgie I'd ever seen in my life, and it was actually kind of sad. Like he was he was like kind of like he was hurt by not so much the wedgie, but he was hurt by the fact that he'd like lost that control, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you could see it. Like, oh man, it was pretty weird.
That is
I don't really
one of
know
the
where I was
saddest-
going with that
It's
one.
one of the
Sorry, it was
saddest
just,
stories I've ever heard. A kid who's getting wedgied, but trying to be in on the joke at the same time, like your
Exactly,
friends.
yeah. I know it is really sad, isn't it?
There's a
But-
lot of stories like that. That you think back to, like as kids, you don't know like the social rules.
Yeah.
I was never really bullied, and I was never really a bully. I existed kind of in that fluid space in between. But I remember once, you know, when you're a kid, like we just made up like we were like, oh, we're gonna be like the whatever club. We're gonna be like the cool guys club or something. So there were like 6 of us hanging out, and then we were gonna have like a vote on who gets to be in the cool guys club. It's probably like 4th grade.
Right.
And so when they were voting for you, you would leave and then come back. and then they'd be like, you get voted into the cool guys club. And
Right.
5 of us went off without a hitch, and then the 6th kid was a little weird.
Yeah.
I want to say, from my memory, I voted yes. Everybody else voted no for him to be in the cool guys club. So I was
Nice.
like, well, this sucks, but I got to go talk to him. Because they were like, we're just going to walk away and like turn our backs to him and leave him here. And I'm like, he's going to be devastated. Somebody should at least have the stones to say like, hey, we voted no. So I
Oh my
walked
God.
over to him and I was like, hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but basically like, we don't want to hang out with you. And I just remember he like started to cry and then he just like walked into the yard. Like he just like turned his back on the school and just like walked into basically like the forest that was behind our school. He came back, which is nice. But
No, I know, but it's sad, isn't it? But again, kids are brutal with that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
they're
right?
too
Like,
honest.
they don't have any social conditioning up to that point, right? So it is just brutal honesty. It's like they'll do a vote system even if it really hurts somebody's feeling or whatever, you know? Like as adults, you don't tend to it's more passive aggressive, right?
You
as
talk
adults,
about them
you
behind
just,
their
like,
back and yeah.
Yeah, and or like just ghost them or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, like but as a kid it's just like you don't have any of that. It's like I've had similar I was the same. I didn't bully people. I witnessed bullying and I probably could have like maybe stopped some bullying.
Yeah, but I know, like I hear you, but you're a kid. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're like a
You don't-
teacher who saw it and then you were like, I'm not on the clock right now, then you're kind of you can
And-
live with
and I
that
think-
guilt, but
I think the one thing every kid has in common is that they're trying to fit in, right? Like at every level. Like even people who are like at the very top of the pecking order, like at your school or whatever, in some ways they're probably trying to
Yeah.
fit in somehow or whatever. And then especially so for people who are unfortunately at the bottom or whatever. So yeah, like you're right. There's probably not that much chance to get in there and be like, "Hey guys,
Yeah, like-
stop bullying this poor guy."
and they're
you
like,
just
looks
don't
like we're
have
giving
that.
2 wedgies today. And then you're like,
Yeah.
haha, yeah, I love wedgies.
Oh my god. 22.82 kilograms.
It's
That
pretty
was
good.
a fight too. Basically the whole bullying conversation I was reeling that bad boy in. School I don't have like terrible memories of school again because I didn't really get bullied. I didn't bully people that much. I hung out with a group of people who were just really middle of the road,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Again, didn't get picked first for sports, but didn't really get picked last either. And that's when I played sports because I stopped playing sports like when I got to high school or whatever. But yeah, like somebody was asking me in chat earlier, like if you could go like back in time to like relive your childhood or do things differently, would you? And I just said no, not really. I like it was fine. You know what I mean? It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty average, and I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? Like I don't have
feel
any like
yeah, we're cut from the same cloth. Like I was a good student, but I did like no extracurricular activities or sports. I just like clocked in my time. Had like a group of people I would sit with at lunch, but then like once we're off the clock, it's like no, we're not friends. Kind of because we lived in like a rural area, so it was like until people would get their driver's license, it was like, what am I gonna? It's like a Wednesday night. I'm gonna have like my dad come home from work and then drive me 20 kilometers to your house so we can like eat chicken tenders and play Smash. Like it's hard.
Oh my god, yeah. I guess like I'm 8 years older than you, so there's I think for the most part we probably have the same sort of like TV shows from our childhood and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But Smash is something that completely escapes me. Same with Pokemon. I guess you're probably more like you were into Pokemon.
I was like
when you
right.
were, like,
That
a
was
kid.
like the iron was hot for Pokemon for
Right.
sure.
See, I was just becoming a teen. I was like 13, 14 when Pokemon came out. And my brother was into it, and it was like because he was into it, he was 6 years younger. I was just like,
Oh, it
okay,
can't be
that's for
cool.
babies. Yeah, I've got bigger fish to fry here.
Yeah, you were
like,
probably watching whatever that show with Ryan Gosling was, where he's like in high school on a big cruise ship.
Wait, what's that?
I think it's called Breaker High.
Breaker High. No, I was like Degrassi.
Oh, so you're like okay, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, like a little bit older. Yeah. Did you have like what was on TV Ontario when you were a kid?
I didn't watch much TVO, honestly.
Oh, really?
I watched a lot of YTV.
Yeah, okay. Did you like you can't do that on television and stuff still exist?
I think that's before my time for sure. And
Right,
I mean,
okay.
when you're a kid, like a year is a huge difference. You know, when you're
True.
like 5, you're like, whoa, 6-year-olds are into this. I'm not ready for that. The 4-year-olds are into this, like they're babies. It's like now, like we're the same age, even though you're 8 years older or something. So,
Pretty much now.
and like
It's,
everybody
well,
from 65 to 90 is like they're the same
pretty
age.
much the same age. Yeah, I know it's a big range, but you're right. You're not wrong on that. Like my parents are just 65. They might as well be 90, honestly. Like they're the worst. They actually live out close. Well, maybe not close. Are you like in Vancouver, pretty much?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like, okay. My parents moved. Okay, my parents moved to Victoria. They
Yeah.
inherited. My great aunt died, and she had a house in Victoria from like the 1920s or something. So they inherited this house, and they moved out there for a couple of years. And they sold the house, and they moved inland. And I thought they were gonna move to somewhere kind of like exciting, like maybe Vancouver or something. But they moved like close to Penticton,
Oh,
like in the
okay.
middle of the Rockies.
Yeah, so like closer
It's-
to Alberta, really, than.
Kinda, yeah. And it's like it's really close to the US border, and they got into like RVs big time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But-
they bought an RV, and like I went out to visit them one year, and they took me to an RV show, and it was like I don't even know, like I'm still in shock. Like I can't believe that the industry is as big as it is and it exists and that people do that. They showed me they had this phone book, and I was like, "Oh, is that like your local phone book?" And they're like, "No, this is for RV parks in Arizona." I was like, "What?" Like that's what they do. They just fucking drive down to Arizona in an RV, and they park up and plug in and then just watch TV in their RV like for months at a time. It's really weird.
It
I don't get it.
honestly, like, I'm not there yet, but it sounds actually like appealing to me. And I know that objectively, you're like, what are you doing? You're just driving and watching TV. But I'm like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It interests me on like an American truck sim level, where I'm like,
Yeah, sure,
hey,
yeah.
12 hours of driving, and you get to see the whole continent, and then you get to watch some TV at the end. That's a win-win.
Well, yeah, I mean, that watching TV is great. But they had a trailer, so there's a trailer at the back of the RV that they would put their car on. They had like a Toyota Tercel or something,
Right,
I don't
yeah.
know. And they'd put it on this trailer, and they dragged the car with them.
Oh.
So when they parked up, like say they had to go get groceries or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
clever, eh? They wouldn't have
Very.
to drive the big ass RV to Walmart or whatever. They just drive the little car.
What? That's honestly, it sounds like they're living the dream.
Sounds like your mind's blown right now.
A little bit.
Mine
I didn't
kinda
know you
was.
could do that.
Yeah. So they moved to this place because there's no bylaw. In fact, a lot of the houses are built with like 30-foot garages, so that you can park your
Oh, yeah.
RV in there. And there's no bylaw that says you can't have an RV on your driveway or like outside your house, and that's why they moved there.
So this is like a whole like this is a known sort of like
Yeah.
mecca for the Canadian RV community.
It seems to be, yeah.
I had
I
no
mean,
idea.
maybe my parents are like at the forefront of it. I don't know. Like they're like blazing a trail here or something. It sounds weird, right?
I will say that for people that are not from BC or do not are maybe not aware, the way that I understand that BC works is that there's like these concentric circles of awareness where, you know, like I live in Vancouver. I don't know anything that happens outside of Victoria. I don't really know what goes on there. If you go
No.
north or east, I'm like, that's mountain country. Like I'm not even sure if there's like laws and sewer systems and stuff.
I don't even think there is anything in BC other than like Vancouver and Victoria, though, right? Like everywhere else is just really, really remote.
I'm
like,
pretty sure if you look at the whole province of Vancouver, if you add the population of the Vancouver metro area and the Victoria area, that's got to be like 80% of the population of the whole province.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like maybe I'm totally wrong, but yeah, like from what I've seen of BC, having flown like into Vancouver many, many times, there's just nothing there. It's just like forests, right? Forests and lakes and some mountains. Like,
Yeah, it's big
and
old
then you get to
carbon
Vancouver,
sinks.
it's like this big ass city, and that's it.
It's
It's
pretty
beautiful
sweet.
though.
Yeah, you kind of get the best of both worlds. I thought, because I like Ontario. If I had to move out of BC, I would move to Ontario 100%. Probably because like my family lives there too. But Ontario, like a lot of it, like if you drive from Kingston to Ottawa or vice versa, or like Ottawa to Toronto, you're just on the 401 the whole time, and you're like,
Yeah.
there's like rocks and some trees, but it's
Trees.
like
Lots of trees.
that's about it. And then you go through that cool part of the 401 where there's like test strips on the road, and everyone goes like, "Whoa!" And then that's it for like the next 3 hours.
Wait, if you guys were in Kingston, did you guys used to do that thing where anytime the Canadian dollar was like a bit strong against the American dollar, did you go shopping in upper state New York?
I did go to Syracuse and Watertown a lot as a kid, but it was less like when the dollar was good. But definitely I did have like family friends that would be like, oh yeah, like the gas is so cheap in the US and the dollar's pretty strong. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
and
go
all the
fill
Indian
up.
reserves too, right? You can get cheap gas and
cigarettes
stuff
and yeah.
Holy crap. Man, that's crazy. I knew you lived in BC, but I just assumed that you were like brought up in BC. It's nice to speak to somebody who is from my part of the world, right? Like,
Yeah, I like
hang out
Ontario.
with people who are all English, pretty much. So it's like I've lived over here long enough to know what they're talking about and stuff, but like it's nice to like chew the fat with somebody who's from Ontario and who has like a similar sort of like childhood and everything as well. You know?
Yeah, a little bullying, but not too much.
yeah,
just
like
the right amount
middle of
of.
the ground. So wait, did you go to the Carousel Mall in Watertown, or is that in Syracuse?
Honestly,
do you remember that?
I think the last time I was in Syracuse or Watertown was probably when I was like 9. So I got very little memory. Most of my memory is more like is Ontario driven. Like I can't remember if it's on the way to Ottawa. Are you guys close to Belleville?
Belleville?
No, maybe.
Where is Belleville? Yeah, I think it's kind of close.
Gananoque. You guys are close to Smiths Falls and the Hershey Chocolate
Smiths
Factory.
Falls, yeah, Hershey Chocolate Factory. Gananoque is we went camping in Gananoque, I'm pretty sure. It's like kind of close.
Very, very noteworthy for the Thousand Islands Ferry. That
yes,
when my wife and I were last in my hometown, we went on the Gananoque Thousand Islands Ferry, and we both
nice.
We both got so sick, like sicker than we've ever been in our entire life before, that we thought we had undiagnosed mononucleosis.
Oh my god, did you? So wait, have you been? Did you do much camping as a kid?
Not at all. Literally, like my parents are very like they're urbanites, more or less.
Right. Okay. We used to go camping in Thousand Islands, and one time when we were there, we went to visit this castle called Bolt Castle. Have you ever heard of it?
That is the same day that we must have caught that illness. We went to Bolt Castle. I've been to Bolt Castle like 5 times. It's like a
same.
a favored
it's
field
creepy,
trip,
right?
Yeah, it's really so. I'll explain it to chat. Bolt Castle is basically like it's almost like the Eiffel Tower of upstate New York, I guess. Like the story is that like this guy. This very wealthy guy built an amazing house for his wife, but then like she died before it could be completed. So it's basically just a private island with a very nice house on it. And that's all.
It's not, and it never completed because the woman that he loved, that he built the place for, died while it was being built. And then when she died, he didn't complete it, right?
Yeah, he was too heartbroken to.
Yeah.
So you basically just walk through the whole house and you go like, it's nice, you know?
It is nice, yeah. But it's the kind of place now where, probably even more so now, but I remember as a kid, you'd leave Bolt Castle and be like, that was kind of cool. But then you'd see all these other islands with like these fucking huge houses and like multiple speedboats outside of and stuff. And you're like, I mean, Bolt Castle is kind of cool, but
yeah.
I'd live in any one of these in a heartbeat. Actually, they're really nice.
I remember because again, like, so I've been to Bolt Castle many times. I've been on the cruise that you can go to Bolt Castle, but if you pay like $20 less, you just go around it and come back. I've been on that like I don't know, at least 8 times. Because the old office I used to work at, they would be like, you know, hey, we're doing like a booze cruise through the Thousand Islands.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it kind of sucked because it was like after work hours, but you had to go, which seems illegal. But regardless, there's like an urban legend. Like there's this amazing mansion. Like you said, it's got like a boat garage with like 4 speedboats in it in the Thousand Islands. And everybody, I don't know if it's true or just one person started a rumor, but everybody thinks that the guy who invented the pine air freshener for cars lives there.
Right, okay.
And everybody also knows like way too much about his life. They're like, I had a friend in elementary school who used to like get paid to shovel the snow off his driveway, and he's an asshole. But I have no idea if any of it is valid or what.
I think there's a story like that about pretty much everywhere, right? I can't remember any about Ottawa off the top of my head, but I know here in Jersey, maybe this is true, but maybe it's not. The guy who invented the Black & Decker workbench, you know, like the adjustable workbench.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, apparently he lived here at one point, and he built a custom house, and his living room rotated around during the day and followed the sun. So he always had sunlight in his living room.
If it's true.
I don't know if it's true. But it sounds like a good story, right? But,
well, it's plausible too, because he was obviously a very modular sort of guy. So the fact he seems like he was good with his hands and stuff like that.
Probably, yeah. Excellent craftsmanship, like just built a stunning living room that was able to rotate. Like that's like a Dr. Evil house or something, right?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think about it. I don't even know. Like you build it like inside of a casing
yeah.
that rotates.
Yeah, I don't know. Like with like a big fucking gear. Like would you have like a hunchback down there pushing it around or something? Like,
no, I'm like
I don't know.
How does it even? Because doesn't it face into its own mechanism some of the time? I don't know. Like,
I don't know. Maybe we're overthinking, but it is very Bond villain-esque. Like
there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know if it's actually true. And also now, okay, it's 2020, right?
Yeah.
Say that house goes on the market and it goes up for sale, and you go to an open viewing to look at that house. That is the jiviest shit ever, right? Like that feels retro to me. I would not be impressed by that.
Yeah, it feels like 1970s. Like
yeah,
like it's like the room is like a turtleneck.
This house is not worth this much. I would have to rip out this whole living room. It's a disaster.
Yeah, how are you gonna find somebody to do the maintenance on the if you're living? What if your living room rotates in such a way that you can't exit and then it breaks?
Yeah. Yeah, what if you hate the sun as well? Like,
very true. You know, yeah.
And this thing is just you can't even reprogram it. It just follows. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I think it was just a bad idea. But again, I'm not sure if it actually exists. It's just like a local lore or something. There was also a rumor at one point that Elton John had like a secret house here, which I'm not sure. And a famous Formula One race driver, Nigel Mansell, lived over here at one point as well. And probably all for tax reasons.
Henry Cavill is from Jersey. I did see that.
That's right. He is. Yeah. He when he was Superman, for the opening of Superman, him and Russell Crowe and the girl from Superman all came to Jersey for the grand opening.
Amy Adams. Yeah, Amy Adams.
Yeah, Amy Adams. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, she's a good actress. I just wanted to make sure that, like, if she's watching, she doesn't feel slighted by the fact that you didn't name her.
Amy, I apologize. I'm sorry. She was in. She was also in. Was it
Arrival?
What was that? I've never seen that.
Okay.
I don't know. You'll find this, but another thing I have to say is that since having kids, I watch far less movies somehow.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably since 2011, I haven't seen that many movies, or like I've gotten around to them, but reluctantly, just because I can't sit there for 2 hours and watch a movie now. I have to watch them in like half-hour chunks. It's really weird.
We were talking yesterday, like, so obviously, you know, my daughter's so young, she doesn't watch anything, or she doesn't choose to watch anything anyway.
No.
But we were like, man, what if we just like didn't tell her that there were kids' movies? Like, what if we just maintain this illusion that movies are like, oh, those are for adults. Like, those are, you don't want to watch movies. Those are like boring stuff for adults. And then maybe I won't have to watch like all the Despicable Me's and stuff like that.
Oh my God, yeah.
I
No,
suppose it's not that big of a deal.
yeah. I mean, it depends. There's some like you know how people have been doing like the S tier for like cereal boxes, cereal types
Oh yeah, yeah,
recently,
yeah.
and like all that kind of stuff. Like I've seen like a lot of that on Twitter. I was trying to do like trying to think of like in terms of kid shows because I've had to watch a lot of them. I was trying to think of like not even going through all the tiers, but just trying to think of like S tier kids shows, and I said that My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic is probably S tier,
Okay.
and a lot of people started calling me a brony,
Right.
which I'm not, by the way.
I figured you have two kids.
Yeah, but my daughter really likes it, and I've had to watch a lot of it with her, and just it being on while she's playing or whatever. And I find it surprisingly tolerable compared to some of the other garbage that she watches. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
what I've heard every time I've made fun of the show, which I haven't done in a long time because I'm beholden on my audience for financial support, but also I feel like it's not as much of a thing as it was like maybe 6 years ago. But I heard that people would always say like it's a show that kids can watch, but it's all like it's kind of made for kids, but it's also watchable by adults.
yeah. Well, I think that's it. Like the way it's written, they know that there's going to be adults watching it, right? And it's kind of like Pixar movies, you know, like you can go to see a Pixar movie as an adult,
Oh, yeah.
and they're pretty good movies. But if you see it as a kid, they're great kids movies too, right? And it's like they've got that magical sort of, yeah, you know, like they've gotten both demographics perfectly. But some kid shows just do not. Like some kid shows are so fucking stupid, and they're just for kids.
Do you
know? And
do
that's
you have
it.
to watch Coco Lemon or Coco Melon or whatever that show is called from the Baby Shark cinematic universe?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Well, it's basically, I mean, you know Baby Shark, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
it's like it's the same as like the YouTube ecosystem where like Baby Shark took off and now they're like a 10-figure operating revenue like real company.
Yeah.
So the whole show is just Baby Shark style animations and then songs about like how to put your backpack on and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
I feel like Sesame Street is like that's a really good kids show that as an adult you're like, yeah, I know how to count to 6, but still like there's good lessons here.
Yeah, like I always found okay, Sesame Street I used to watch as a kid, and I really liked, and as an adult watching it back, especially like the ones I remember watching like from the 80s, mostly like, you know, early to mid 80s.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's really good. And but I don't know if I'm looking at it through adult eyes or through like nostalgia eyes, you know what I mean? Like
I think it's
feel
good.
like
Yeah. I think it's
yeah, I think it is pretty good. And I'd be happy like if my kids watched it as well. But it was kind of weird that the Muppet Show was like as good. I remember watching the Muppet Show and loving it as a kid, but it was always on late at night. Like it was on at like 7 o'clock at night. When you're a kid, that's like almost bedtime, right?
yeah.
But Sesame Street was on like in the day. Like I get home
Yeah, it's like 11 a.m.
at
or
lunchtime from
something. Yeah.
school, and Sesame Street would be on, and it was. But I guess the Muppet Show had more sort of like adult stuff to it, even though it wasn't offensive in any way. It was
It's-
just
yeah.
I was just found it a bit weird, but I guess they'd have like guest hosts on and stuff that maybe adults knew. So maybe that was like an early trying to appeal to kids and adults at the same time sort of show, like 80s Muppet Show, like when Jim Henson was still alive, sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they were doing like Kermit the Frog was singing Talking Heads songs and stuff.
That's
If
right.
You're
Yeah.
like 4 years old. You're like, what's going on here? Why is that frog wearing a weird suit?
What's this guy doing? I used to like it. I used to like it a lot.
I do have to point out here that according to the fish log, I would say of the last 12 fish that have been caught, I'm responsible for 11 of them.
I'm looking at the log right now. The last one I reeled in was a 8.58 kilogram rainbow trout.
That's correct, yes.
I would like to also point out that you brought in a burbot that weighed in at 0.18 kilograms,
That's
which I
big, buddy.
technically wouldn't class as a catch, personally.
I think that's a huge. It's probably the biggest burbot that's ever existed. Well, except for the one that happened right after that, I guess.
Wait till you see this one. Hey, how much money do you have from all the fishing you've been doing?
I have $313.
Okay. Do you want to try ice fishing?
Yeah, why not?
You have to. You need skills to do it, though. And I'm not talking
I
about,
do remember. Yeah, so I went through this when I had my reel save. You have to go buy. I think I have to buy an auger.
You need an auger, yeah. But not only do you need to buy the auger, you have to skill up in the use of augers.
Okay.
I don't think ice fishing is that hard in real life.
Okay, I got 5 skill points. Yes, use an auger. I have unlocked the incredible skill of use an auger, and I'll unlock this boat one as well.
Boat's got to be good, right? I've only ever done this map in this game. And every time I played this game, it's the exact same way I've played it with you just now. Talking to somebody else and not paying any attention
Yeah, I don't think you've
whatsoever.
moved the whole time. You've just been standing in the same spot. I'm at least keeping up the illusion that it matters where I'm standing, but...
Do you walk to the locations or do you teleport using the map?
Okay, so like I think you have to go back to the main menu and start like a new server on the ice map.
Okay, here, I'll do that right
now.
now.
While you do that, I'm actually just going to use the bathroom real quick.
Sure, yeah. Let me get the ice map up and it'll be all ready when you get back. Sure. Hey chat, sorry for ignoring you for all this time, but I've been having a nice conversation with the fellow Ontarian. Dizzleberg, thanks so much for the $10. I'm sorry I didn't say thanks. I was in the middle of speaking. Sorry. Are you guys having fun? I'm glad that you're having fun. It's really good. It's been really fun. I managed to get to rank one. What? Because I brought in that 22 kilogram one. Just the last one I brought in was 22 kilograms. Don't fall through the ice. No, I'm not planning on falling through the ice. I got my auger loaded here. I think I need to buy some more ice fishing stuff though. The rod I was using on the first lake was stronger. The line was much stronger too, and we had more weights. And Jardins, are you still here? What kind of bait do we need to use in for ice fishing? I'm ranked 49th on the biggest fish there. Really? 49th? It's crazy. I need a specific ice fishing rod first. I think I have the basic one. Oh yeah, and another thing too, I can just do the hole straight away because he has to drill his own hole, right? Such a fucking weird multiplayer game. Can I say pasta for Ryan's stream? Pasta. Wait, is oh, that's interesting actually. I'm gonna ask him how he pronounces certain things because I think it's like an Ontario thing too. Stop talking about holes. Okay, sorry. Is this the same lake in winter? Yeah, this is the same lake in winter, but I don't know how to start drilling. Oh. Here we go. Hole drilled.
I've returned.
Hey, what's up? The ice fishing rods are, those game, the fish game that you can get like for kids, the one where the fish spin around. You get those like really tiny that's what it's like those fishing rods. They look like little toy fishing rods, like they're stupidly small.
I do know what you're talking about. Where there's like a magnet at the end or something, and the fish
yeah,
has
that's
like
the
a
one.
magnet.
Yeah, and the fish jump and they open their mouths, and you have to you gotta hook them in. That's what the ice fishing rods look like. They look exactly like those. Chat wants me to say pasta to you.
Yes,
apparently.
because it's nice to be like in a call without Americans, because
Yeah.
I can say I don't have to pretend that I'm from just a nondescript part of the Eastern Seaboard. I can say
Yeah.
pasta. I can say bagel.
Yeah. You can say Mario.
Mario. Sorry. There's another
Sorry.
one. Yeah. Lava.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
I don't
Yeah.
even.
feel
I've
like
said it so many times I don't remember which one's good, which one's bad. Is it lava? I think I used to say lava, and then
I say
people-
lava.
Yeah, see, that's
I was
just
being
the way
made fun of for saying it like that just last night. I joined a Minecraft server with a bunch of Americans, and I was like, "Oh, watch out for lava," and they're like, "Oh, I love how you say
Lava.
Yeah,
Dude, it's so fun to make fun of Americans, especially when they're not
I
here.
know.
So when I
Oh my
lived in
God.
Korea, like there's only two demographics of like Americans that live in Korea. There's English teachers and the U.S. military, and you'd like go out to the bars and you're from Canada. They're like, "Whoa, that's crazy." I remember one time this total jerk was just like, "Hey, what building is on the $20 bill in the US?" And I was like, "I don't know, the Capitol building." And he was like, "You dumb idiot, it's the White House." And then he started telling like all his friends, he's like, "This guy said it was the Capitol building." And like, you don't know anything about Canada. And if you ever go like, "Well, you don't know anything about Canada," even the nicest American will be like, "What's there to know?" You know? Like I
I
don't
know.
need to know, cuz my country is so much more important than yours. It's crazy.
I know it is crazy, isn't it? They're very like the news and everything. I remember when I first moved over here, and it was weird because I was so used to hearing so much about America. Like even on Canadian news, all you hear is like it's basically like American news for the most part, right? You get a bit of local news and then whatever is happening in America, or at least it was kind of like that when I was living in Ottawa or whatever. And then when I moved over here, you just never hear anything. Like you hear more now because Trump is so crazy.
Yeah.
But before, like when Obama, like the 8 years of Obama, I couldn't tell you anything that was happening in that country. Like we heard nothing. It was just 8 boring ass years of nobody needed to know anything. It was perfect. It was really good. But I remember like I'd talk to my friends back home and they'd be like, "Hey, have you heard about this?" I'd be like, "No." And they're like, "Well, do you not get the news over there?" And it's like, "Well, yeah, funnily enough, we get news about here over here." Like nobody fucking cares about America.
There's
Like
a shortage at the creamery, and
Yeah.
there's a cat stuck in a tree.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like somebody in Greater Wobbleburton accidentally hit a cow on the road or whatever. You hear that stuff.
I think
but
I
yeah,
need
no.
another invite, by the way.
Oh, I just sent you one actually.
Yeah, I ended up in a game with like somebody not named you,
Shit.
and it was just
Okay.
me and them, and I got
Did they try-
scared, so I quit.
Did they try to fucking fool you with the what?
Oh,
what
you know what?
building is on the dollar bill question?
No, that's because now I would never get that wrong. But I think
Oh, yeah.
it's because I had to buy a license, so maybe like it screwed up the invite after I bought the license. But now I got it.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's an invite there for you. So you have the
I'm in,
skill
I'm
and
in.
you bought the actual auger
Yeah,
itself, right?
I got it. Like
All right, you're good
it's
to
in
go
my
then.
hand right now. I'm just walking on the ice here.
You're good to go. I've got the. I think I haven't upgraded any of my ice fishing stuff, so I probably have the same rod as you. The level 1 Pennant IRJ 45.
Let me see here. It does look stupid. I can't.
It
deny
does,
that.
right? It's really fucking small and stupid looking.
The other. Oh, I don't even have any bait. Luckily, I've got. Oh no, it's some kind of weird egg. But I remember, and again, like I have no problem with Americans at large, but all of these stories are real. So if you get offended by me telling them, then maybe there's some introspection there for the Americans in the audience. But I remember we're from Canada, and we took a vacation to Quebec City, and there's a lot of Americans that were vacationing in Quebec City, which is, it's a beautiful place. But they just would not stop talking about American politics non-stop. Like, and they're on vacation in Quebec, and they're like, "What do you guys think about Mitt Romney?" And I'm like, "Nobody cares." I mean, like, people care, but it was back in 2012 when you could be a little bit more apolitical without it, reflecting on you as much.
Americans are a lot more sort of, like maybe, I don't want to say politically knowledgeable, but I feel like they're way more up for talking about politics and they have a much clearer understanding of their institutions than like say I do, right? And sometimes like if you get a whole bunch of Americans talking about this stuff and they're really interested in it, it's really daunting because I have no fucking clue what they're talking about half the time. Because there's all these different departments that they talk about, and there's all this like there's like local level politicians or state level, and then there's like federal and there's like all this crap that they're always talking about. I was on a flight one time and I was sitting next to an American guy who was just like kind of, I think he just wanted somebody to talk to or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that there was like other Americans around. And I'm the same. I generally don't have like issues with Americans. Like I know a lot of Americans. I like a lot of Americans, but they were like kind of like in their 50s, I think, or whatever. And so this guy started talking to me, asking me like what I was doing. I think I was going to like BlizzCon or something at the time. It's like,
so you
know, I'm
lied
going
to him, and you were like, I'm
I'm
going
to like a
business.
media convention,
Yeah.
like, but I'm on business or something. And he was like, oh yeah. And then he just like at the first opportunity he started talking about politics. Like he just found some way to start talking about it. And then this was like it was like turning on a neon light for like the like the rest of the mosquitoes on the plane. And all of a sudden it was just like 3 or 4 other Americans just sort of like their heads came up like prairie dog style, and they were just like, huh, politics, and they all rushed over. And before I knew it, I'm just sitting there. I'm watching The Expanse with like one headphone on because I didn't want to be rude and like not listen to them. And these guys are just like fucking going at it for hours, like not even sitting in their seats, nothing. They're just talking about all types of shit that I had no idea about, and I didn't know what to do, and it was awful. And oh man, I feel like probably other people have had that situation as well, right?
The audacity to start a politics discussion on a closed aluminum canister where you can't escape is just.
Yeah, and you can't really talk to people much on a plane anyway. It's so loud, right? You're just like, you can't have a normal conversation. It's like one of those yelling conversations that's instantly exhausting. You know what I mean? Like that's why you just sort of say like, "Where are you going?" "The same place as you." "Okay, nice to meet you." That's it. You know, like it's just.
It's like it's rude. I think now maybe because people have devices and stuff, there's not as much of a culture of like talking on planes. But I definitely remember so I flew to San Francisco for a media event. It was literally like the day after that Asiana Airlines like struck the seawall at SFO.
Oh shit!
So like everybody's kind of on edge, even though you're like. For me, I was like, well, if it happened yesterday, it's never going to happen today. Like this is probably the safest day to fly in history. But anyway,
yeah, sure.
The flight was at like 7 a.m. I just remember I was reading like on my Kindle, and the guy next to me started talking to me like right as soon as we hit cruising altitude. And I was like, man, I'll never have that degree of confidence to like talk to a stranger on a 7 a.m. flight. Right at the start of the flight, so you kind of awkwardly have to keep it going for 2 hours. And I'm like, yeah, it's very presumptuous to start talking to somebody on a plane because like you're stuck with it. Like at some point, you just put your headphones back in, and then it's just over. I don't know if I have the stones for that.
No, I know. I could never. I think one time I said something. So. Anytime I've ever spoken to somebody on a plane, it's because they've spoken to me.
Yeah.
So, respect to you. If you've got the balls to speak to somebody, okay, great. The only time I ever spoke to somebody, and I felt kind of bad about it, was I was sitting next to somebody who didn't eat anything for their meal. Okay, like just nothing, except for their yogurt. So, like they got a yogurt and they ate that,
okay,
and I figured, okay, maybe they just like got screwed over. They had like a dietary thing or whatever. And I wasn't really paying that much attention, but I just sort of noticed. And I don't really like yogurt, so I was like, "Hey, do you want my yogurt?" And they were like, "No," like straight away. And I was like, "Okay, shit, I should not have said anything." I was just trying to be nice, you know. Like, it was just, I don't know. They seemed almost like kind of offended by it, but that's the only time I've ever instigated a conversation of any type on an airplane. Otherwise, like I plug into something or read a book or whatever. That's it. I don't know how people do it. I don't know why people want to do it. You know what I mean?
I don't glean much from those Like, I think you can kind of romanticize, like, in the 1960s, you know, you're in business class and you're like, what do you do? What do you do? You know, it's kind of
Sure.
interesting. But now I'm like, we're sitting in coach, and you're like, oh, what brings you to San Francisco? Oh, tourism. Surprise, surprise. Who would have thought? Yeah, the food's really good. Yeah, go see the bridges. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I just there's just not like that much to say. And again, it's just not like the best place to have a conversation either, right? Like
Yeah.
because it's loud and everybody's tired and like you basically have to get to the point where you're like nearly delirious to even enjoy a conversation, right? Like your inhibitions are gone because you're so exhausted and fed up of being on a plane that you can kind of do it, but you're never really quite at that point, right? Like
Oh, absolutely not.
it's the worst. Man, speaking of trips though, I don't know if you ever have you ever driven across Canada to get to where you live now? Like from
No.
like Kingston to Vancouver? Like when you moved, did you drive?
I flew. The sum total of my life's possessions fit in like a suitcase and a cardboard box, though.
Right.
Like
Okay.
I was like a clean. I want to say it was a clean break. Like I was leaving some kind of situation behind. Like even when I got out here, I just like bought a new computer. I was like, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
no,
take
that's-
that on the
yeah.
airplane.
No, I mean you hear all those horror stories of people trying to move their computers on airplanes and they always like end up broken or whatever. You're probably
Now I
probably
would
better
move
off
the
buying a new
computer
one.
because I'm like, this thing's expensive. But back then it was like, I don't know. I think I still was just using like a laptop or something.
Oh jeez. So I've driven Ottawa to because I mentioned my grandparents lived in Victoria.
Yeah, yeah.
I've driven it twice. No, not me
It's
driving.
a
I
very
was a kid.
long trip. Like
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 days maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and like to stop to stay in a hotel to sleep or whatever, and you end up stopping in the dumbest places too, like Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and like places like that.
It's really
Like,
bad
I-
for you too, because you were like right on the easternmost part of Ontario. It takes
Yeah.
like 2 days just to get out of the province.
I know it's the worst, right? So as a kid, I did the trip a couple of times, and I remember it being hell because when you're a kid and you're stuck in a car, there's nothing worse, right? I remember going to Kingston from Ottawa in a
Right.
car as a kid, and I hated it.
Yeah, it's only like 2
it-
hours. That's not.
I know it was only 2 hours, but it felt like an eternity. Like it was so boring. Like I just hated it. So going across the country was pretty bad too. But so me and my wife, my wife before we were married, like we'd done a lot of traveling back and forth, like between Jersey and Ottawa, like like when after we'd met, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like every couple of months, like we had this long distance relationship, but every couple of months we'd visit or whatever. And then eventually I moved to Jersey like on a gap year, like
Oh, yeah,
between
yeah.
school. So I lived over here for a year and I worked and stuff. And then my wife did the same. She actually moved to Ottawa and lived and worked in Ottawa for a year, like on a gap year as well. And at the end of her gap year in Ottawa, we decided to go visit my grandmother in Victoria,
Oh my
but
God.
we didn't have any money because I worked at Blockbuster at the time. Like I had no fucking money, and she was like between jobs, so we didn't have any savings. So we bought 2 Greyhound tickets,
Oh my
bus tickets,
god.
yeah, to go out to Victoria, all the way to Victoria, and they were like $200 each. It was like pretty cheap, right? Considering.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but fuck me, it was the worst. Like
it must have
it
been
was
like 8
actually the-
days or something.
It was straight 82 hours.
Oh, it just
straight.
drove the whole time.
Yeah, it never stopped. Well, no, it stopped at like strategic like Tim Hortons along the way,
Right,
like
yeah.
every couple hours or whatever. But oh my god, it was the worst. In 82 hours, and you can't sleep because it's a bus
You're
and it's,
sitting up the whole time.
whatever.
Yeah.
I read like 10 books. Like it was just I took out like 10 John Grisham books from the library and I read them all one way. Like
My
only
lord.
one way. It was insane. But then we flew back. We got a
done?
stand
You were
by
like,
flight
yeah,
on the way
okay.
back. It was actual hell. It was the worst. Oh my god. I
Yeah.
would never do it again.
I have
It was an
a
experience
friend,
too.
Like
but-
it's funny because it's almost the exact same situation, but my friend went to the University of Victoria, grew up in Kingston, and then like
Oh,
he
nice.
he always flew, but then one time he took the train which he said was not good because it's actually more expensive than flying, and it takes like at least 5 or 6 times longer, probably more. And then one time he did do that, like that Greyhound trip, and he said it was like the worst experience in his life.
Yeah, and
I can't even imagine.
Like you said, though, getting out of Ontario, easily 2 days, like or what felt like 2 days, and endless trees, like on the it's like 401, right, all the way through, and we stopped somewhere. It was in the middle of the night, and it was like a gas stop, so bus stops has to get some gas. So everybody can get off, and you just go into Tim Hortons and buy like a couple of bagels or whatever. You know, like you're at this point you're delirious and you hate yourself and everything. So you just buy like a bunch of muffins and stuff. So we get out, we buy some muffins. It's really late at night. It's dark and everything. We go in and we're just like stretching our legs and stuff and just like complaining about how shitty the trip is so far. We're only like 6 hours in or something, but we were in the middle of nowhere. Like we weren't like at Sault Ste. Marie or anything like, or like Thunder Bay. Like we were really in the middle of nowhere. And we get out of the Tim Hortons and the bus isn't there, and we were just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? I don't even know where we are. I don't know how long it would take my dad to like drive out here and get us. Like it would take him forever, sort of thing. And we were like kind of panicking for a minute because we couldn't see anybody else around or whatever. And then we saw somebody that was on the bus come out of the Tim Hortons bathroom. We were like, oh fuck, they've missed the bus too. So at least it's not so bad.
It's a sense of relief that you're all screwed.
Yeah, but then then like 2 seconds later the bus came, and because like the gas station was down the road, so it had to go fill up and then come back to the Tim Hortons. Oh my god, like it was such a roller coaster the whole trip. Like there was just these moments of like I want to kill myself, and then there was other moments of just sheer elation, like when the bus came back and we weren't.
Or like when if you stopped at a Tim Hortons in like a bigger city, you're like, wow, this is swanky.
This is quite the Tim Hortons. Yeah, I think we didn't do the 82 hours straight. That we did stop in Calgary and we stayed overnight in Calgary, and then after that there was still like 12 hours to go. Oh my god, it was unbelievable.
And you're dealing like there's another wild card too, which is you're dealing with the bus clientele, which is sometimes fine.
Yeah,
you know, people who are just strapped for cash, or you know they're just like riding the bus for whatever reason. Maybe they don't own a car. And then you got also like people who are cutting other people's heads off.
That's a thing, right?
It happened once, yeah.
I can't believe he cut a guy's head off. But when the police got onto the bus after the bus had been evacuated, he was on the back of the bus like eating the ears.
Yeah,
right?
he was eating his like licking his throat and stuff like that.
Oh my god. That guy is in jail for life, right?
No, he actually I'm not joking, he got out like 2 years ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's better now, I guess, or like whatever, you know. I don't think he's allowed to be on the bus anymore though. I think that Greyhound banned him for life. Forever.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But now
that is crazy.
You should see his Uber rating.
He just plummeted. He's just, oh my god. How did they let that? There's no way. I don't know. You're just joking, right?
No, he's out. He's out.
Doing what though?
I don't know.
How do you do anything after that?
You know, he could
probably get a job.
He could probably run for office. The way things are going in this, am I right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. No, that's a good point. But oh man, I just don't know where you go from cutting a person's head off and then eating their ears and licking their throat, going in jail and coming out of jail. How do you? I just don't understand. But maybe politics is the right answer. I don't know. Fuck, that's crazy, eh?
Do you need a lesson?
Have you caught any fish yet?
Yeah, I've caught like at least 12. 12 or 15.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you need.
I'm having a lot of. I've somehow managed to like lower my lure onto the ground and not into the hole here. It's like
then you gotta reel it in then.
It's just I'm struggling big time. Oh, do you press C to see like the underwater view? Oh, okay.
That's very, very useful.
Yeah. I think the trick is with the ice fishing is to not lower it down too far, right? You just want to
Well,
like
yeah, I was like, all of a sudden you're starting to give me tips. I like maybe catch a fish first, and then I'll start to ask for your advice.
look at you look at you got a you didn't catch this brown trout 7 kilograms here, did you?
I did. Every single one that you see in the ledger is from this.
Those are some pretty big fish.
I told you it was gonna make it competitive.
Damn, okay.
So I don't know, I
I'm gonna-
lower it like halfway, and then within like 5 seconds a fish comes, and then I just sort of, reel it in.
So what? So you're like close to the top of the hole, so that you can just reel it in quick. Because all the ones that I've caught have broken the line.
I mean, I'm fighting it a little. You can use your mouse wheel to adjust the reel tension.
Yeah. What do you have your set to?
If they're pulling hard, I put it on 0 and try to keep them like in the green. But then when they get tired, I crank it up to 100 and then just reel them in. But it's kind of it's a balancing act.
I feel like you're more advanced at this game than I am.
I have
usually
played a
just have
lot
it
of
at
it.
100.
Oh, like though, and then
Dude.
you just hold left mouse button down the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
I haven't played that much of it. Well, I mean, I played like a fair bit of it. I don't know. There's something about this game. I was talking about Cyberpunk earlier. Like really dumb, mundane mechanics do it for me in games. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree
and like,
more.
I think part of me not playing Cyberpunk is that I just don't really care for stories in games much. You know?
Now I'm finally understanding why we have so much of a overlap in our Venn diagram of viewership, because like I also have long been of the opinion, like when people are like, if I've really got hosed when I was playing a bunch of Hades, and I would like
Right.
skip through all the dialogue, and then like people were like, you don't even care about the story. I'm like, whatever, it's the Odyssey, So I've been
Yeah.
there, done that. Was written about in like the year 1100 BC or something. Like,
Yeah, I happily skip through a lot of that. So, like Hades, I was the same with Hades. I played a bit of Hades. I didn't get like massively into it, but I didn't read a single line of dialogue.
no, and I was
which maybe-
losing it because people were like, they were going hard for the characters. They were like, oh, I'm in love with Aphrodite. Oh, I love Dionysus or whatever. And I'm like, you read that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, no, not me personally. No. Check the fish log right now, by the way.
Yeah, I see that, a 14-kilogram rainbow trout. That's like
210 big ones.
it's more weight than all of my fish put together, I think.
I do have like $7,000 in this game now, though.
That's pretty good.
I know I haven't spent any of it. What kind of hook are you using right now? I'm using a number 5/0 with maggot bait.
I'm using just one sec. Sometimes the interface is a little wonky. I'm using a number 2, and it has cut bait big.
Nice.
Cut bait
Do you ever
big.
use like I don't know why. I guess the last time I played this game, I decided that using a piece of bread and a pea, I think, was a
at
good.
the same time. Yeah, I forgot you could have
Yeah.
you could have multiple lures on at the same time.
I know I didn't catch anything with that combo though. Maybe it's just not like a good one, but
That's another one. How do you say LURE?
lure.
That's just me then.
Why? How do you say? What do you say?
Lure.
Lure.
Go
I
ahead.
can see that.
You can make fun of it. It's a funny.
No, I wouldn't make fun of that. That's not like. I feel like that's an American thing, right? To make fun of how somebody pronounces something. I don't mind. Like, what do you say? Do you say root or route?
I feel like I alternate. I'm just
Yeah,
trying
me
to.
too.
In my head, I'm like, yeah, I would say I interchange them.
Yeah, like I say router for like. The,
Oh, of
you know, like
course.
but
a
if I was
router-
planning a route to drive, I would plan a route. I wouldn't plan a route. You know. That's my interchange.
All right,
Does that make
I can
sense?
understand it. Yeah, it wouldn't even dawn on me. I think I would just be like, I'd be like, yeah. Why are you using such a fancy word where you could just say the way?
This is the way. Hey, have you watched Mandalorian?
I,
By the way? You did, right? You
I
finished
did,
it?
and I was gonna bring it up because I thought it was very dad-like that I saw your tweet about episode 2 of season 2, and I was
Yeah.
like, I guess like when you got kids, you're just constantly like maybe 5 weeks behind the cutting
Sure,
edge of
yeah.
the media.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my TV watching, I really like watching like TV series, but again, if they're hour-long episodes, it'll take me 2 days to watch one episode.
Totally
I like
understand. Yeah.
I watch them in half-hour chunks because the time I most watch TV is when my kids go to bed. So like I put my daughter who's younger to bed, and like I lay on the floor next to her bed while she's going to sleep. Like it's just something that we've always done with our kids, sort
That's
of thing.
cute.
And that's when I watch TV, like on my tablet or whatever. So I watched all of Dark, which was awesome.
Great show. Yeah.
I loved it, and now I'm just catching up. I've seen season 1 of The Mandalorian, and now I'm just watching, catching up to season 2.
It's really good. Like I think season 2 also, like season 1, gets better as it goes along.
Man, it's just nice to watch good Star Wars, right? Like,
Yeah,
it just feels like,
feels weird.
yeah. I like. I hope that all of the Star Wars that they make now is like The Mandalorian, which it won't be clearly, but it's just so good, isn't it? I really like it.
Even like as I'm so positive about the Mandalorian, when Disney had its like Investors Day or whatever and announced 19 new Star Wars TV shows, I was just like, oh come on, like
Yeah. It's great though. I mean I'm not like scared of spiders, but I didn't like the frozen spider cave like much.
yeah. Well, I
just
think you're probably okay then.
Yeah,
I don't think there's
but
much that's scarier than the
I thought
frozen
the
spiders.
I'm up to the episode when they go to like the Mon Calamari place, like the fishing village thing. And there's all the weapons on the big transport, and he meets up with those other Mandalorians who take their helmets off or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just finished that episode today, and I like how sort of gritty it is, but I kind of like how wholesome it is sometimes as well, right? Like there's just parts of it that are just really nice, you know, like the frog lady with the eggs, like babysitting like the little Yoda and stuff. I thought that was really cute, you know, like when he's trying to eat the soup and stuff.
I like how the frog lady, literally, if you watch with subtitles on, they just call her name is Frog Lady. Like I was explaining the episode to my wife, and I was like, and then there's like this frog lady, and she's like, she's probably got a name, and I'm like, yeah. On Wikipedia, she's known as Frog
Wikipedia.
Lady.
Nice. That's really good. I like how she used her frog movements out of the ice cave too. Like she was trying to run like a person for a while, and then decided that she needed to be a bit faster, so then started like awkwardly frog leaping. It was, I don't know. It's such a good show though. It's really good.
It is.
But,
It's a great show. We're
yeah.
like, I mean, I don't know. This is when I say like I'm a 50-year-old guy in a 32-year-old guy's body that kind of looks like a 50-year-old guy's body right now. But like I also watch almost all my TV with my daughter, but it's between the hours of usually like 6:30 and maybe 9 or 10 a.m. And
Yeah.
like all I watch, and I'm so embarrassed to admit it because every time I do, I lose like 10 viewers permanently. But is Bloomberg News every day? I just at market open, I turn on Bloomberg News, and then they're like, "Oh, America's having a run on soybeans." Like that's from today. That was the news. Demand for soybeans is higher in the United States than it's ever been. And then I go,
do you have
"Oh."
stocks and stuff though? Or
I do,
you
but
just-
I'm like I have like smart grown up investments that I'd never touch, and then I have like a little fun stock fund. But I very
Right.
rarely actually act on the news. I just watch it and like pretend like I'm a grown up. I'm like, oh wow.
Right.
If I knew a company that made products with soy, I might be like time to sell because they're gonna start paying so much for those beans.
I think all that stuff is worth getting into, right? Like I don't do any of that stuff, but I like a couple of guys that I grew up with that I still I have like a WhatsApp group of like guys I went to school with that I'm
This
still
is like
like in
one
touch
to
with or
one
whatever.
with my experience. By the way, I'm like, I'm seeing now, like I'm in chat's position when I say the exact same thing you're saying. I'm always like, we have like a little back channel and a Google Hangout with guys
Yeah.
from high school.
Yeah. Well, and so same. So these guys are always talking about how vegan stuff is getting bigger and bigger, and they've actually invested in like some, I don't know, like Miracle Burger stock or something,
Oh
and
yeah,
apparently it went through the roof at one point,
yeah.
and they all
Beyond
sold it.
had
But again,
a
it's like
big year.
small time, right? Like they invested like $50 and they got like $300 back or something like that. You know, like. But I don't know. I
It's
guess they
like
just find it fun or whatever.
it's worth getting into, but you gotta be smart. Like, so I for the first couple of weeks I was just like Nostradamus. Like anything that I picked, it went up like 10%, and I was like, this is the easiest thing of all time. I'm gonna be like a billionaire. And
Yeah.
then like so my whole strategy was like, I'm gonna like when I see news, even if I don't know anything about the company, I'll just buy it. Because when the news comes out, other people go, I'm going to buy it too. And then as long as you don't stay in for too long, you just sell when it goes up a bit and there's profit, right? So then
Yeah.
there was this news article that was like, hey, this one investment firm put out a price target for this company that's like double of what its current price is. Then I bought it and I got in, not a lot, but not a little either.
Right.
Because I'm pretty cheap to begin with. So, maybe my perception of that
No,
varies.
I'm the
And
same.
then, like, I had this cold sweat, like, half an hour later, the Reddit post with the news got deleted by a mod. And I was like, oh no, it was probably like a spam website designed to just pump the stock. And then I was down like 2%, but I was like, I'm just going to hold it. And now it's down like 17% or something like that. And I'm like, oh.
So
But
what? So will you just hang on to that now forever until it just maybe goes up, or
I'm
like is there a point where you're just like, I just got to get rid of this like before I lose too much on it or something?
I'm torn because people like you got to be careful because most of the people giving like stock advice on Reddit are literally like 18 to 22-year-old college students who are just like, whatever, YOLO, diamond hands, you don't lose till you sell. But like you do, like you can lose while holding as well if all your money's tied up in like this garbage stock when you could be buying something that actually like has a real business attached to it. But for now, I'm holding in the hopes that like I think this is stocks that are like under $3. I think this is just how it works. So people tell you like rocket ship emojis, it's going into outer space. You buy, they sell, and they go like. Have you ever seen the movie It Follows?
No.
Basically, it's a curse that passes from person to person, and now all of a sudden, like
okay.
you gotta hold the bag, and then you gotta wait for like the next news that's gonna pump it, and you're like, today's the last day to get in, and then when other people buy it, then you just get out, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy like I don't know, Apple or something like that.
Oh my God. Yeah, I just like I've always wanted to like look into stuff like that, but like I've never. I know that I'm fickle, right? Like
Right,
I'll
yeah.
be really interested in something for like a week and then I'll never think about it again. And like I feel like I'd be the same with stocks. I'd buy a bunch and it wouldn't go the way that I thought it would go, sort of thing. Like i.e. I wouldn't be a billionaire overnight.
Right,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I'd just be like, fuck these stupid things. Like just completely forget about them.
Which is fine, I think, if you buy good companies.
Right.
But if you're gonna like, if you see like a post on Reddit that's like, hey, look at the CEO of this company has weird hair. It's going into, it'll be triple by 1 week from now. Then, you're gonna run into trouble because by the time you check again, it's gonna be zero.
Yeah.
But if you bought like, if you bought the, blue chip stocks, like if you buy like Amazon or Google or something like that, you're probably not gonna, forget about it for 6 months and come back and be like, oh, Google went out of business. Like,
No, yeah, exactly. I guess there's like certain ones that you can buy that you can actually just invest in, right? Like they'll be worth something down the line for sure, sort of thing.
yeah,
Or maybe not. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, it's like nobody knows, but like that's like the hope, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some companies where you're like, oh, dude, because you can play this trick in your brain. You're like, everybody knew Amazon was going to be amazing. Why didn't I just buy like $1,000 of Amazon stock in 2004 or whatever? But then some companies you look at, you're like, you can imagine. I remember like my grandparents being so proud that they own like like dozens or hundreds of shares of Kodak or something like that, and then you look at the stock price of Kodak, and as of like the invention of digital cameras, it goes down to like $1.50 or something like that.
Yeah, right. I was talking to some people about this like not long ago about Kodak, and I think like I think the biggest thing that they do now has to be batteries, right? I only ever see Kodak batteries.
I don't see any Kodak. I think so. You're one step ahead of me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know if I don't remember if we even looked into it, but I feel like their biggest product right now has to be batteries, because I've never seen any other Kodak stuff other than batteries. But maybe paper and stuff. Like, I'm not sure.
Like printer paper, or
they're around somewhat, but they sell their name a lot.
So like, and this was before I got into investing, like last summer, but they got pumped like crazy. Like they had like a super, because they were at almost zero. They had a super meteoric rise, and everyone was like memeing them up, like they're gonna have this incredible product that comes out. And then like the stock rose so much that the SEC actually investigated like what the heck's going on here, because it seems fraudulent. And then it tanked back down to almost zero. And then, like 2 weeks ago, the SEC was like, "It's not Kodak's fault," and then it pumped up again to like outer space.
So it really is just like speculation and like, you know, newsworthy stories or whatever, like where there's interest in it, right? Like there's when stuff goes up, it's usually just because like people think it's gonna go up, right?
Yeah.
Or like rather than like the company actually performing super well or whatever.
Sometimes,
I guess that does help.
But... Yeah, like sometimes there's like earnings and they do really well on earnings, better than expected, and then it goes up. But then today, I don't know, Apple stock was like, it's like $130. It went up like $4 today because Tim Cook was like, "Yeah, I think we're just gonna like make an electric car." People were like, "Oh shit." Apple cars, like buy.
Go up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So if you bought like $1,000 worth of Amazon stock in, say, 2004, how much would that be worth if you just left it? How much would that be worth? Like,
I don't even know if you want to know. This is the kind of stuff that will keep you up at night. So let me look at Amazon stock price lifetime. Right now it's like $3,500 a share or something.
Jesus.
So in 2004, it was like $40 a share. So it would be worth like $100,000, I guess. But it also, I think it split a couple of times over that period as well. So like, you know, you would buy like, let's say 1,000 shares, and then they would be like, for every share that you own, now you have 4 shares. So you would have like 4,000 shares, and then, you know, multiply that by 100.
That's where they do like that's like a split, right? Or they call it like a
yeah.
Okay.
So it's crazy. Well, like there was a great story I saw where like somebody on Reddit was talking about how like their mom and dad sold their shares of Apple in like 1992 to buy a house, but if they just kept it, they'd be worth like $400 million or something ridiculous.
My God, can you imagine? Jesus Christ!
But I will say, like, I gotta leave now. I have an obligation to the mother of my child to liquidate some streaming space for her.
Right. Understandable. Hey, listen. This is really great.
This is a lot of fun. Yeah, it was very easy. Like, you know, it was not. I was like, oh man, what are we gonna do if we got nothing to talk about?
No, well, I don't think we ran out of any. I mean, there's still so many subjects that we haven't covered. So, anytime you want to hang out again, let me know. I am down.
Dude, I'll hit you up in the back channel. I think we could easily do a lot more of this. And it doesn't just. I mean, that was with just fishing. Like I don't even. Yeah. My brain has no memory of what happened on the screen for like the last 3 hours or whatever. So
same. I mean, I feel like we have a very similar pacing with games and stuff. I mean, even like a lot of the like Jackbox. Like I played a bunch of Jackbox, and it's been pretty fun. I mean, I don't play a lot of Rocket League, but like games like that, I feel like I can play like a ton of those, like, and just like chat the whole time, sort of thing, like no problem. So,
and I don't know if you can relate to this, but like, and it's unfortunate timing for me, but like, oh, how nice is it to have like 3 hours of conversation on Twitch and not be interrupted like even a single time?